Google doubles down on commitment, Doomgate, Stadia game explosion, and more with the most dangerous gamer out there, Brian of Club Stadia. Let's get into it.
Not sorry. Stay sick cause I follow my gut. They say I was pushing my luck. I'ma push me a matte all black truck. Oh, I'm not sorry.
What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy, MM2K, back again with another episode of, let me slow this down, the Stadia Stream Connect podcast. I did it right. I was listening to Brian's podcast earlier today, and he pronounced my podcast better than I could myself. That's what old age does to you. Nonetheless, I am happy everybody is here. Let me shout out everybody in the chat right now. We got Regorsness, Stadia Weekly. What's up? What's up? Charles Aran and Cloud Zero. And could you all do me a favor? Tweet this out, let everybody know what's going on. Here's the deal, y'all. I'm stoked, but I'm scared at the same time. This right here, my friends, is the most dangerous gamer on this side of the Northeast Atlantic. He has the likes of Business Insider. They got him on the 10 most wanted gamers list, and it's just his name 10 times over. Then you got Tim Sweeney out there cosplaying like Dog the Bounty Hunter, looking for this guy. I'm harboring a fugitive. Why is this man so dangerous? Because like I've said before, he is also a steward of the truth, and he has a very successful Stadia channel. Imagine that, because Stadia is dead, people. I'm going to bring this guy in right now. It is my good buddy, Brian of Stadia, Club Stadia.
Yeah, I see ya.
What's up, Brian / Chase? I gave you 5 different names before I brought you in here. What's going on, good buddy?
Yeah, I was about to say you're already off to a better start calling your podcast by its correct name and having episode 10 down there. That's correct, right?
I know, yes. I worked on that last night. I stayed up. Took my Metamucil. Yeah.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. As I said earlier, I'm really excited to have you on here because what I've been fortunate enough to do in this community is have guests on here that show the well-rounded depth that we are as Stadia gamers. Like it started off with our good friend Duncan. And Duncan is he's very critical, but he reminds me of that school counselor. Maybe that'll be his nickname, Brian, the counselor. He reminds me of that school counselor that you hate in the 9th grade, but when they help you graduate as a senior, you're like, I love you, man. Yeah. Because they've been so critical and they've been so on you. And of course, Chase is the godfather. And we have you, Brian, the most dangerous man alive. Because here's what you present. What you do is you take the most complex Stadia news things, like, and we're going to talk about this doom stuff. You take it down and you break it down for the common folk and for the slow folk like me, right? And you do such a wonderful job at it. And the greater thing about it is we don't all think the same, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm very stoked to have you on. So here's what I want to do. Everyone keeps saying, why in the hell do you keep calling this guy the most dangerous guy out here in the gaming community? If you haven't been following this guy's channel, definitely do so now. I'm going to have him drop a link. I'm going to make sure that if you could type something in the chat, Brian, I'll make sure that you're a mod. All right. And I want you to drop a link to your channel. While he's doing that, I'm going to precurse it why I call him that with this, and then have him further explain it. But Brian has 2 big publications on his rear end, right? he has Business Insider, Kotaku, well, really Business Insider, and Tim Sweeney is upset with this guy, right? Can you fill us in on what happened with why Business Insider, they're not a fan of your work, and Tim Sweeney is upset with you? Can you break that all down?
So the infamous article, if you will, from Business Insider, and even when we did this, I didn't really want to, blast their article up because, maybe someone didn't read it and now that gave them an extra click. But I decided to bring Chase from Stadia Talk onto my channel for a little breakdown of that article. And Chase went in on him. I mean, I was kind of sitting back, kind of hosting it, just picking his brain and seeing what he thought of it. And then one of our viewers, he tweeted out the link to the author of the article, and I was like, hey, what do you think about this retort? And the author's like, that's not a retort. I'm like,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, oh yeah.
All right,
yeah.
all right.
Oh,
Just like that wasn't an article, I guess. But I mean, it is what it is.
yeah.
And then for Tim Sweeney, I retweeted one of his tweets about the whole Stadia is going to block, or Google's going to block everything from the Google Play Store and everything like that. And I'm like, this is kind of misleading. And he actually called me out on saying, what about it was misleading? And then I kind of went into my little spiel, and then he hammered back his little tidbits, and you and Chase definitely went in on him a little more aggressively than I did, but it was all a good time.
Yeah. So speaking of the Business Insider, here, I didn't even inform you I was going to do this, but it's important for people to know that you are a steward of the truth. All jokes aside, you are a steward of the truth. You do a great job. There's a reason why that you're very successful with your channel. And it's because, and we're going to talk about things like this that I have up on the screen with Ed Software, but there was something else that I had up. Yeah, there it goes right there. So in relation to Business Insider, inspired by Brian, the fugitive that I'm harboring right now, inspired by Brian, I sent out this tweet because this came from Google 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. And it says, and I said, the dead platform continues to grow. Last month, it was suggested that there were 550,000 active users total. Now they've reached 500,000 downloads on Android alone. This doesn't include iOS. Good news during the data collection phase with limited library. And then on top of that, let me see if I can find it. That's really not the tweet that I wanted. The one that you really inspired me to be a little jerky-ish about. Oh, here it goes. All right, here it goes.
I read that in your voice.
Okay, so here it goes. The story is Stadia had dropped an article on Twitter talking about Journey coming to the platform. And according to Business Insider, what did they say, Brian? That what was it again that they were saying about indies not coming to the platform?
Yeah, there's no indies. They don't work well with indie developers. And the fact of the matter is, Lost Words was announced before their article too. And so many, I talked with Chase, like at the time, like that's all the game announcements we've been getting at the time were indie games. So I was like, what the hell are they talking about? But no, go ahead.
Exactly. No, I just, it's amazing. So to be the jerk that I am, the immature jerk that I am, folks, I put this out here. I said, what's this? An award-winning indie? A winner of 6, in fact, a winner of 6, in fact, coming to the platform. But Business Insider, y'all said they wasn't getting those, but because everyone gets paid in old GPUs. Oh no, wait, that's GFN. Referring back to when the indie developer, when there was while Business Insider was trying to do this hit piece on Stadia, there was a live story going on with GFN that an indie developer actually got stiffed by GFN because he didn't want his game on the service. He didn't want it, and we don't know why. It could have been third-party contracts, a whole bunch of stuff. Who knows? But, we're supposed to support the devs. This is a small dev. Let's get his stuff out of there. They tried to remedy the situation by offering the guy some GPU, for crying out loud. So,
like a game developer doesn't have a top of the line
GPU. Yeah, GPU. Yeah.
Was there an article on Business Insider about that, or no?
I don't think so.
No, I didn't think
so. I don't think so. I got that from Forbes, and the audacity of Forbes was, Brian, they reported it, but they said, this is why this developer is wrong. It's like, what? Yeah, you can't make that stuff up.
God forbid someone tries to control their intellectual property. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I know. You make something, and damn you, Brian, for wanting to control it. Oh, my goodness.
I know. Sorry.
I know, exactly. So with that being said, just give you a background to this dangerous guy. Just hopefully everything will go right. ATF won't bust through our roofs and shut down the podcast and try to, along with Tim Sweeney, and try to take Brian away. No, Brian's a good guy, great content. And what he does is, it's not really, to be honest with you, it's not Brian's fault. Brian just puts it out there, and then we get on his show and start going bombastic, and he gets blamed for it somehow. So.
It is.
Yep. But now that we got all of that out of the way, and everyone knows why I'm yelling about that, that is fantastic. Let's do this. What I like to do, Brian.
Yeah.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the gaming news, I'd like to introduce the gaming community to who you are, what your likes are. For those that Shame on them that may watch my content but may not be familiar with yours. It should be the reverse. But in those rare instances, let's introduce what your gaming likes are, taste, and how you represent yourself within the community. So, real quick, just talk a little bit about your platform and your affiliation within the Stadia community.
Alrighty. So my platform, if you will, is known as Club Stadia, and the origin story of it, I guess, if you will, when it comes to the gaming side of things, is it was just like a general gaming thing. Whatever I was interested in, I talked about, and that was just too broad and too not focused to what I was doing. And I found myself talking more and more about Stadia and just Stadia stuff itself. So I was like, well, let's just kind of steer us into an exclusively Stadia channel. And since then, everything's just kind of like, I don't know, come up roses. Like, it's awesome, the community I've been a part of now. And I know we'll get into the bigger community aspect of it, but the content creators that were more than willing to either help me out or put me on a pedestal and put me on their channel, or maybe put me on their website, it was just so unfathomably awesome. Like, the creator community here, as you know, it's just so, we're willing to make each other better, because I mean, we're a small, tight-knit group, and we want to make sure that, if you need help, come on my show, then you'll do it. Like, that's kind of thing we are. And that's what I love about it. And that's what makes this so unique, I think, is because of how tight-knit we all are. We have our own little Discord. We talk on Twitter all the time. We're doing podcasts together almost constantly. I love that aspect of it. And what we do on the channel is a lot of news analysis, and we do some game reviews as well. And lately, with my ever rotating schedule, I've been doing a lot more live streams, because it's a lot easier to create that content than writing a script, editing a video, and doing all these kinds of things that can take 3 to 5 hours, where if I just jump on and play a little bit of a game, it's about an hour of work, and it's less work on me. But I also like the community aspect of talking to everybody, because everyone, as you said, has so many different ideas, and they have all these backgrounds. So maybe I don't see it the same way they do, and I am that much better for being a part of their conversation, because maybe they're helping me see it a different way. So, I mean, that's all I like harboring in my community, is being able to talk with everyone else. And that's 100% the reason why I'm on a YouTube channel myself, is because I like being able to communicate with people like that.
I personally find it, even though I have nowhere near the success of you. And again, I'm not trying to brown nose. I'm being serious. I know we're having, but what I find very special about your content is that you're not standing on some soapbox, right? Like, this is what I think, so therefore you must follow me. It is, hey, here's this issue. Here are my thoughts. Let's talk it out. And I think when you interact with the community like that, you see the success that you're seeing. Those are just my personal thoughts. So
thank you.
I love the channel. Let's see here. Well, I kind of took this out, but I think it's relevant. So we had an event about a month ago. It was called Super Saturday, right? And we all got together to show that the community, quote unquote, isn't dead, and to show why we support this platform despite all the garbage that's out there in the community. Can you talk a little bit about what you did during that Super Saturday?
So I was one of the later people, and you followed me right after. And what I did was a Mortal Kombat tournament. And if you've never organized a tournament before, I advise you not to, because it is a difficult task. I mean, the first 20 minutes of that live stream was just, I might have appeared calm, but I was losing my crap in my head, because I had 19 people registered and only 7 actually showed up. So I had to get chased, hey, dude, can you jump in for a quick match and fill the spiel out? So, I mean, that was difficult, but in the end, I mean, it kind of worked out, because if it had any more contestants, it definitely would have went way over the 2 hours. So it worked out perfectly. It was a blast. I just got to sit back, relax, watch people play Mortal Kombat and commentate over it. The amount of people that came into the stream talking to me and just talking about the whole day in general and just enjoying what they're watching, that meant so much to me. And everyone being able to help each other out and being a part of this was so cool. I pretty much from Meg's stream, which was before mine, and I think Sunny's stream before that, is pretty much when I was there the whole time, because I had stuff earlier in the day. And it was so cool being able to be a part of everyone and learning new people that I really wasn't too familiar with. Stadia Weekly one, I believe, was after you, and then Andy Morse was after him. And Andy's a funny dude. I don't know if you've watched his stuff. And
I watched. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, Andy did Lift, right? Or damn, Lift, Guilt. The hell's wrong with me?
yeah, he did Guilt.
He did Guilt. I love this stream. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
No, he's a funny cat, but it was an amazing day. I had a lot of fun, and Google was able to help me out too, and they let me give away Borderlands 3 to the winner, which was they were all over that event, which was so cool. And
that's awesome. Yep.
Yeah, it was a great day.
Now let's not confuse this with, because the common theme running, Brian, is that we're getting paid. Like you're getting a check, I'm getting a check. Then every third Thursday of the month, we get a pack of cools that we share. I don't know, whatever it is they're saying that we're getting from Google. And no, what happened was, and correct me where I'm wrong at any place. And if Duncan is in here too, hopefully Duncan, because he's the hardest working man out here,
dude.
He's probably clonked out. He's probably like, I wanted to watch, but I'm out. Correct me where I'm wrong, Brian, but we originally started, and when I say we, I mean everyone except me. Everyone, we started this thing out tooth and nail by ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And coming in at the 11th hour, which is fine, which is cool. Google said, you know what? This is great. Here's we're gonna donate to this cause. This thing wasn't organized by Google, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Duncan and Dan of Stadia Source took care of pretty much everything. And
absolutely.
I mean, a lot of us talk to each other, but not all of us do. So, I mean, they were able to bring literally everyone that has a Stadia focused channel that was interested in being a part of the event and let them be a part of the event. So, I mean, that boosted everybody up. Like, obviously, I had my best day as a creator because of it. It was such a blast. It
was amazing. It was amazing. Yes. And they have other content creators like Stadia Cast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those guys are great. Bill and Lloyd. Yeah.
It was a big get, I think. I mean, that's the kind of thing that they can do is they're able to have that pull. And Dan and Duncan, without them, that wouldn't have happened. Absolutely.
We got, just real quick before we move on, we got Bippity Bop. Big ups to Bippity. What's up, Bippity? He says, hey guys. We got Stadia Weekly. Only Stadia Weekly. He says Duncan does a great job with updates. Man, Google pay close attention to that guy, right?
If he doesn't apply for that community manager job, I don't know what the hell he's doing. Like that's what he's doing right now.
If I could chuck a bottle over the Atlantic and hit him in the head and make him do it, I'd do it. I had a conversation. I hope he doesn't mind. I said, Duncan, go for the damn job. And Duncan's very humble. He's a very humble and down to earth guy, you know, and you can imagine what he said in response. I'm like, dude, like they need you, man. But you know, but no, great job by Duncan. That unofficial. I don't even like the word unofficial, Brian, saying it. So
It's official.
Yeah, it's official. But I gave it an acronym like the USU or something like that. I don't even like the word unofficial. That thing is so clean and so direct. And it even gave me the news where I was being a smart ass here. This smart ass tweet here. Let me put it back in. Yeah, my smart ass tweet with my smart ass GIF. I got that from reading what's it called? You know what I mean? From reading his what's it called? You know, so it is what it is. But kudos to Duncan. And Duncan, if you're resting up, if you're re-energizing to do some more gumshoeing, I get it. And who else we got here? We got Stadia First says, hey guys, big ups to Stadia First. All right.
Good job on the website. I've seen his new website. It's really good.
Oh, awesome. Hey, Stadia First, were you let me see here. And then I got to, hold on. Oh, they're acting silly here. They're acting foolish. Could be Tim Sweeney. All right.
You're not buying enough V-Bucks. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right. Stadia First, you're a moderator. I need you to drop a link to that website here so people can go to it, man. Definitely. I definitely want to check it out too. So, okay, that's cool. Absolutely cool. And when I proceed, what you did, Brian, with that Mortal Kombat 11 tournament, even though everybody wasn't there, you made it flow masterfully. You know what I mean? And it was very entertaining. And I'm like, oh shoot, I got to follow that up. So I'm talking to my son. I'm like, you see this guy like ahead of us? He's like updoing us. I said, man, don't you mess up. Don't you mess up. Or I'm going to find homework to make you do. But we did okay.
Yours was very enjoyable. I was there the entire time. It was a blast. I mean, we both had our own issues. I think we had some little stream issues too. But I mean, I was really impressed that I've been able to use my Elgato with my Chromecast for some reason, and not technically supposed to. Like the DHCP becomes an issue, but
exactly,
I didn't have any issue when it came to the actual game itself, which I was like, Nice. And I don't think anyone did. So, I mean, if you think Stadia is a laggy issue, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, because
Exactly.
you have 24 hours of straightness of just
straight streaming. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love being able, and I haven't gone and looked at the numbers, but like within 24 hours, Brian, we had what 11,000 or 20,000 impressions, along with 6,000 plus views. That's a lot for a dead platform,
Yeah.
And Charles follows that up. I'm sorry. He says, goes to show that they see us and they know about us. Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
I mean, we're all small creators, but I mean, like, to have that kind of number with us, I think is a huge deal. I mean, sure, you could have like this 1 million plus subscriber creator have no problem doing that. But I mean, all of us were able to come together and all of us were able to make this event just an amazing day. Like, there's people that were there literally the entire day. I was like, how the hell are you doing this? Like, I'm tapping out after 4 hours. I'm like, oh man, I want to support everyone though. So I mean, I love this community, man. There's so many awesome people in it.
Awesome. Yep. And to Cloud Zero's point, says we need another Super Saturday, guys, with this COVID-19 scare around the world. Hey, I'm for it, man. Yeah. As I was joking with Brian earlier, I just got to scrape up the lootage to give to my wife so she can get the hell out the house and leave me alone. And I'm for it. So we'll see. Stay tuned. All right. So to help peer more into the Brian gaming world in totality, give us a picture of the type of games you like and all that other stuff. How long have you been gaming roughly?
Well, I mean, as you can see from all the Sonic stuff in the background, Sonic was my first introduction to gaming. So the Genesis, or as it's known overseas, the Mega Drive, was my introduction to gaming. It was there for a while until I eventually got a Super Nintendo. But I mean, platformers were my bread and butter growing up. So Sonic, pretty much every Disney game. I don't know if you ever played the Disney games growing up, but those were pretty much exclusively platformers. The Lion King was an amazingly hard game. Mm-hmm. And I love that game to this day. Like Aladdin. Yes, Aladdin is another great one. So, I mean, growing up, I played a lot of Space Invaders on the Genesis, Sonic, Sonic 3, Sonic 2, all the Sonics, of course. I mean, moving forward, though, I mean, NBA Jam was another one. Mortal Kombat was, back then, even, some I liked then. So, I mean, sport games became much bigger to me as I started playing sports. So I kind of just focused in on that because, I had this idea that I would be a quarterback in the NFL one day. But, me being the size I am, I'm like 6'2", 250. Like, that's not a quarterback size. That's the lineman size. So, yeah. I had that idea. But, so, I mean, platforms is big to me. I love story-driven games personally. And I'm always of the mindset, and it's probably because I had a Sega and a Nintendo growing up, that who cares what side you're on? Just if a game's good, play it. And that's the way I view like everything when it comes to Stadia and all the negative backlash that they tend to get. Is like, if someone enjoys multiple platforms, what's wrong with that? Like, I use GFN, I use Stadia. What's wrong with that? Like, I have an Xbox, PlayStation, Switch. They all do different things and they all do them wonderfully. So I mean, I don't know why you want to lock yourself into just one side of things, but I mean,
people take this so personally nowadays from what I notice. Like back in the day, like I was like you. My favorite console of all time is the Genesis. Or did I get that right? Did you say that your favorite console was the Genesis?
Growing up, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I love the Genesis. That was my favorite because some of my favorite games, Valis 3. I don't know if these names ring a bell. Valis 3, Phantasy Star 2. Like Phantasy Star 2 is my favorite game of all time. I loved those Japanese developed games with the badass warrior, and Valis 3 was full of a bunch of badass women. It's the first game that really did something like that. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I had the Genesis. I remember my cousin had the Super Nintendo, and we would argue back and forth over which one we thought was better because of certain games, but we never took it personally because I would go over to his house to play NBA Jam on his Super Nintendo because I think NBA Jam on the Super Nintendo had more options, and he would come over to my house to play Genesis for Joe Montana football and stuff. Like, it never was so personal, even as we were kids. Like, what do you think? And I know this is kind of going out of the scope a little bit, but just to get your brain on this, why do you think that people take this stuff so personally nowadays?
It might have to do a little bit with sunken cost fallacy, where I am so integrated to a platform that if it fails, then my money's worthless. But it also might just have to be they're such a home team kind of person that they just can't see it past one way. Like, I don't know why you'd want to limit yourself to just one platform because, as I mentioned already, like everything does different things perfectly fine. Like the Xbox has this vast ecosystem that you're allowed to pretty much play any game you've ever owned on an Xbox system, which is really cool. Game Pass is a terrific model, and the Switch has obviously their first party titles and the ability to play their games portably and do so very well. And games you didn't think you could play portably, like a Doom and The Witcher 3, like that's nuts. And then PlayStation has, I think, the best exclusive lineup personally. I like, Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted, The Last of Us. So they all do different things differently. I mean, duh. But I don't know if it's just like I'm an Xbox guy, so screw everyone else. It's just like I don't know. It's hard because I don't know anyone personally like that. Like they may have like a preferred system. I mean, I have a preferred system, but it doesn't mean I'm like they're not antagonistic towards the other ones. Like why? Like so just game. Stop arguing. Just play.
Yeah, people shouldn't take this so. Like I know gamers. I get along with everybody because, why not? You know what I mean? I know gamers that say, "Oh, the taglines, the derogatory term. Oh, that pony, or oh, that Xbot, or oh, that Nintendo weirdo. I don't like them." I'm like, "Why don't you like them?" Because they like Mario. Like what the hell? Like I've come across a lot of people with a lot of superficial mantras to them. And that's one thing I will say about the Stadia community, that I don't see that with anybody here. And I haven't experienced that in a while. And it's very refreshing. Like everybody that I've come across in this community, same opinion or not, we all say, I respect what you're saying. I respect what you do. I respect how you represent it, but we're all gamers at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I mean, do you get that same sense of feel?
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like maybe we all have to, whether we are usually anyway, is we might have to mature up a little bit more just because of all the negative backlash that Stadia as a platform gets. But I mean, I mean, we are all gamers at heart. Like if we can game, like, I don't know why someone wouldn't want this. Let's say Doom launches next week, which it will. Would you prefer having to clear some space on your console or waiting for a download or more than likely a day one patch to complete? Or would you rather click buy now and start playing? Like, look at it that way. And then you're like, oh, yeah, why would I want to play right now? It's dumb. And then obviously your internet needs to be up to snuff too. But I mean, if everything's good, and why wouldn't you want to play it this way? Like, that's why I'm excited for base to eventually come out, because it's going to give people that chance and the ability to prove themselves wrong. And
absolutely,
it'll be a big story when that happens.
I hope everybody. Well, like I said, I'm very immature. I'm sitting there trying to talk from this high pedestal, Brian. Why must you hate everybody? But I'm letting everyone know. I'm not going to name any names, but everybody that had that Stadia hate, the people that did press the tag, the space bar with the lag on it, even though you had a VPN active, I have all of the receipts. Everything has been glued and collaged together. And when Stadia wins his first NPD or whatever the case is going to be, the 11-year-old in me is going to burst out of the seams, and everyone will be put in blast. But that's just me. I'm very immature. I'm sorry. I'm owning it. So let's break this down again. We've already nailed down pretty much what your favorite system is. What is your favorite game and your favorite genre at the moment?
Favorite game at the moment or all time?
Well, you know what? Yeah. You got to excuse me. I'm not all there, Brian. Yeah. What is your favorite game of all time and your favorite genre of all time?
The one game I can always go back to without doubt is I'm cheating here because I'm going to give you two different choices. Okay. And cool. The first one's actually technically two games. So Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my pinnacle of gaming, especially growing up. It combined two amazing games into one, and it just had the ability to do something very new, which was hypersonic, which was so cool. Collect 14 emeralds, and the puzzle levels are so awesome. The platforming is great. And then my other one would be Mass Effect 2, because that game is just unbelievable when it comes to the cinematics, the story itself, the character-driven arcs that you're falling in love with these characters and you're caring about them so much. And to me, that was just awesome. And like I said, I like story-based games, and that one I think did it perfectly, because the end mission of that game, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mass Effect. Is I had to cheat because I didn't want anyone to die. But
I did too.
But overall, I'm a big platforming kind of guy, as I've kind of alluded to. But and that's even progressing to modern gaming because you got your Uncharted and Tomb Raider. Those are platformers. I mean, they're not your 2D side-scrolling ones, but they are 3D ones. And I love games like that. I love the story-driven games because I just love losing myself into that story. In terms of what my favorite game today, nowadays, I don't even know if I have an answer for that because I play so much. Like I really spread myself too thin when it comes to gaming, and it allows me to not get through some certain games. But the one I've been playing a lot has been Fire Emblem on the Switch. That's a great game. And then over on Stadia, it's been a lot of Borderlands 3 trying to finally beat that game, and still so far behind. But
going a little bit back to what we were talking about earlier about the superficial attitude of our fellow gamers in some instances. Bibbidi Bob says here, I think it's because of a money thing. Dropping hundreds of dollars on something kind of feels like you're picking a side. Game streaming will change a lot of that in people's views. And somebody said that. Who said that, Brian? Oh man. Was it Duncan? I think it was Duncan who said, yeah, I think it was Duncan. He said, when you start getting into these $10 here or $5 here, and people are just picking a couple of subscriptions, that takes away that, I guess, that superficial attachment that you have. Yeah. And maybe everybody can just enjoy gaming again. I told him don't hold his breath, but you know what? I agree. I agree that there's a potential for that. Definitely. What do you think about that?
That's kind of what I was alluding to, like the whole sunken cost, like they're investing into this platform, and if it loses, then like, I wasted all that money. Like,
I've lost.
Yeah. I can understand that. I mean, if you only have the funds for one system, it is what it is. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, if you haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn, why are you trashing it? Like,
exactly.
Stop. Yeah. Just stop. You haven't played Stadia? Stop complaining about it.
Some people just and again, we got to take into consideration, we've probably never seen this like this before, because back in the Genesis days or whatever, there was no internet. So you couldn't take all the superficial people and lump them all together in one space for them to just go, rah, 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 you know. And today you can. I mean, I've done shows with people that, you know, everything but PlayStation sucks. And okay, well, what have you played on PlayStation? Oh, I haven't played anything on PlayStation for the last several years. What? Like, what are we doing here? You know, so it takes us in a silly season.
And the PS4 is arguably probably their best lineup of exclusive titles. So I mean, I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. You stand for it, but you don't play it. I don't get it. But what led you to Stadia?
Well, I'm gonna blame the Nintendo Switch for this. So the Switch is probably my favorite console to come out this generation, just for its flexibility. You know, here at home, I don't always have access to the TV because someone else may want to watch something. But the Switch changes that. Now I can play Zelda sitting on the couch while, you know, my girlfriend is watching, you know, the Kardashians, whatever smut she's watching at the time.
Sounds like my wife. Yeah.
But the Switch has this inherent problem that it's not all that powerful, and it's been fine for the first party titles because they really haven't necessarily needed them to a certain degree. But Stadia is a different story. It's the Switch supercharged, but it's pretty much a Switch on steroids. So not only can you play it handheld mode, you can play it on your computer, you can play it on your TV, you can play it on your tablet, you can play it on your laptop, you can play it pretty much anywhere. And when I started to think and realize what can Stadia actually do, it's instant access. And to me, that's so important. And this has been beaten to death, but we know all the times that we get onto our PlayStation or Xbox and a system update happens, and then the game update happens. And we're like 30 minutes later, like, could have been playing something else by now. And that's Stadia at its apex, which is what it's trying to deliver, is no latency, which I've not had any latency issues. And the ability to just jump into a game is so satisfying to press buy now and then bam, there it shows up on your screen. Like,
absolutely.
When I really dug into it, it's just that screamed to me like, this is the Switch with all the games you've been missing on there finally available. And that's what Stadia is aiming to be. It's aiming to be a very flexible, powerful console that you can take anywhere, which is amazing.
I don't see, if you look at the raw data, the age of the average gamer is someone in their 30s, mid to early 30s, right? Last time that was checked, or there was a quote unquote census done on that. So people normally in that age range have jobs, children, utilities, responsibilities. So they can't sit there and game every day for 6-7 hours a day, you know, and not saying everybody that does at that age, there's something wrong with. I'm just saying what's common. So something like Stadia, I feel, would appease someone in that demographic for the simple fact I may only have an hour to get some gaming in. I run into this all the time. I may only have an hour to get some gaming in. If I go turn on my machine and I know, and I see this big update that's going to take 15, 20 minutes, I may say the hell with it. Let me just go watch Hulu instead before I go to bed. Yeah. But with Stadia, it's instantaneous. There's no loading, no waiting for this, waiting for that. I get right into the damn game and I can get damn well my full hour of gaming in and feel so great about it. And I beckon back to what Chase said on this platform, on this podcast. He said, it's reinvigorated him into gaming again because he can squeeze every single minute, every single second out of every precious moment that he has. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's so true. Like he said, I believe, because I was re-listening to it the other day, is that his gaming time went from like 4 hours or something to like 20, 25 hours. Like that's what, I mean, that's kind of what the Switch did to me, unfortunately. Like, but that's what Stadia can do too. Is like, it just allows you the ability to be more flexible with your gaming and not having to sacrifice gaming quality. Like, I don't have to play some random mobile game to enjoy gaming on a phone. Like, I can play a AAA title. I can play Destiny on there if I wanted to. I suck at Destiny in handheld mode, but that's the fact is I can do it now. And that flexibility is important to the gamer that is, gaming nowadays. Like, because when we were growing up, that's when the NES was big. That's when the Genesis was big. So we're all grown up now, and we all have these, these things we have to attend to at this point, whether it's kids, wives, husbands, chores, jobs. Like, we have all these things that are taking our attention away, and we're getting a limited amount of time to do things we want to do in our spare time. And like I said, like in a day where we have 50 gigabyte patches, and we don't have time for that. We want to play. And that's what
Call of Duty, didn't it have 100 gigabyte or 67 gigabyte patch the other day? Jeez Louise. What the hell?
I mean, I think the Modern Warfare was like 140. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but it was a stupid amount of data that required on your PC just to have the game. It's like, I got to take off Microsoft Word. I got to take off Premiere. I got to take off Photoshop. I can't play this anymore.
Yep. So, great points, man. I got something on Twitter too that was a very interesting comment, but I'll see if I can pull it up later for a Q&A section. So let me jump around here. In regards to Stadia, we kind of like covered what led you to Stadia and what you're actually pleased with. I want to focus on, because we got to keep it balanced. You know what I mean? Because we got to be honest. Everything is not, glorified roses and peachy keen. What do you think was the biggest mistake that they've made with this rollout?
I think not having it available to everyone has been a bad thing, because they've let this amount of time lapse where it can fester to this point where people are still putting this down for the same reasons they were putting it down in November. It's like, oh, it's lag and stuff like this. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
You haven't tried it yet, but there's a reason why they haven't tried it, because Google hasn't made it available to them. And
absolutely,
that I think is their number one. I mean, besides the communication aspect, I mean, when it comes to the actual platform itself, that is their biggest downfall so far. Like, I think they felt rushed to it because they've heard murmurs about Amazon coming into the business, and Microsoft is starting to put the pedal to the metal coming into the next gen. So, I mean, they had that sense of let's be first so we can get our names out there. But we still don't know when the base and pro tiers are coming out, and that's an issue. Like, wouldn't you want to kind of like put that up on a pedestal, like, hey, this is when you can start playing? Or I mean, communication aspect, obviously, and I think not having the availability right now is a big issue too.
Just real quick, going off of what I do, what I was able to recognize, and I had the pleasure of going back, because big ups to a good friend of mine's named Sean. He's a big time Stadia follower. And to Chase said, MM2K, have you seen the IO? And I said, IO, the way we get, what's that? I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Why are we doing Snow White here? He said, no, dummy, the Google IO. And I said, oh, holy cow. So I went back and I watched GDC 2019 and I watched the IO and they explained the tech. And from what I understand, I kind of understand why they're in this predicament. Like, it took them 9 years to get to Project Stream. And they ran into a wall where they couldn't increase it any further. They couldn't even do The upscale 4K, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, they couldn't even do that until they got more data. So they got more data by doing Project Stream, getting Assassin's Creed Odyssey out there in a lot of people's hands, and that helped them with 24 hours of data to go there. But they realized that they plateaued again and they have to go further. So what I surmise what they did is they said, look, let's just put 22 games out there. Look, we can't upfront the cost for Chromecast Ultras, and we need data from that too. Sure. So let's wrap the aura of a launch around here. You get your own Google name and all this other stuff. But we critically need this data because, like you said, A, Amazon's coming out, and B, Xbox, we don't really know what they got under the hood, but if we come out a year later when we're ready, we're going to be too behind the curve because we need data now. Right. And I think that's what put them in a predicament. And, we're here, right? We're here. We can't continue to cry over spilled milk, right? But I think it was important for us to be honest, right? And say, look, this was not the best rollout. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, obviously the ability to do what they're doing right now just wasn't there for the last few years. And some people are still at that mindset now. It's like data capture an issue, consistent internet speeds, and having it available across the entire U.S. I mean, there's a lot of rural areas in this country. So, I mean, that's still something they have to hurdle over. I mean, this platform isn't necessarily for everybody, and I understand that. So, but it is for a lot of people, and a lot of people just haven't realized it yet. And, I mean, I don't remember Netflix being a very when they started out rolling out their digital side of things and performing as a streaming service, but I'd imagine they had the same like pushbacks. Like, no, we want to buy DVDs and Blu-rays. We don't want to try and stream our movies. Like, that's nuts. But, I mean, and now that's all we do. We stream our stuff.
Yeah, I joke around and say this, and again, I hate to do this because people in real life have this condition, but I feel like I'm trapped in 50 First Dates with Drew Barrymore. I feel like Adam Sandler. Because we've been here before, Brian. We were there, like you said, with Netflix, going all the way back to Netflix to the beginning of this generation. DRM is evil, and anybody that wants DRM kidnaps babies and throw them in the volcano. And crazy, silly, goofy stuff like that, to where now people say, oh, I can't remember the last time I bought a physical game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I caution the people and I beckon the people to what you're saying. Slow down, slow down a little bit. Get it in your hands because, people like Lloyd and Bill are giving out, Stadia Cast are giving out buddy passes all the time. Whenever we get them, we give them out. Yeah. Try it for yourself. Try it before you knock it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it may not be for you, and that's okay. Like you said, there are people in rural areas that can't play, that they don't have feasible internet. Does that mean that Fortnite should shut down its doors? No. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's just my thoughts. Yeah. And back to the digital part, like people are buying games digitally more than ever. Like, especially considering what's going on in the world right now. Like, do you want to go outside or do you just want to just press buy now, download and start playing? Like that convenience factor is so huge. And so many people are taking advantage of it. And I don't think a lot of people realize it, or at least the loud people online are not realizing it, I think. Before we move on to the next segment, to get to the meat and potatoes where we fight. No,
fight.
If you had a seat at the executive board, what would you like to see done? Try this again. Come on, MM2K. If you had a seat at the executive board, what would you like to see done over the next 12 months?
Well, the first thing I would like to see in the next week would be Basin Pro launching alongside Doom Eternal. I think that'd be a great step. Now, I would probably I don't know if I'd announce it Tuesday and release it Tuesday, but because here's the idea of what you can do. If you announce it just early enough, you can get people to consider, okay, if I start the trial and I figure out, wow, this works for me, maybe I'll cancel my pre-order on Xbox and pick it up on Stadia instead because I can just play it right away at 11:1. So, I mean, there's that. What I would be working on absolutely is from a hardware, or at least from the back end side of things, is making sure come November, the Series X and PS5 are obsolete. So as soon as they launch, make sure that your server blades or whatever they call it, or whatever they want to call it. I know Chase calls it server blades all the time, but make sure those things are already making the PS5 and the Series X obsolete come November. And like, that's the advantage you can have immediately. On a front end side of things, you got to change the perception, because perception is literally everything. You can have, say, a singer that, just does country music, and this is gonna be a weird analogy, but I think it'll work. All right. Yep. So they do country music their entire career. Album 4 and album 7 suck. But during
Yeah.
the tour, during those tours, they'll play it. But after that, they don't play it anymore because no one talks about it. So if you're Google, you can pretend album 4 and 7 are things you've shut down.
Yep.
Now, this country music artist wants to become a metal artist. They want to go into the metal music scene, and the metal community is just as loud as the gaming community. And
yes.
If this person starts doing a metal album and they drop an album and you find out the riffs are amazing, the drums and the bass work is awesome, their vocals are unbelievable, but you still have this community saying, no, I'm not going to listen to a country music star. I'm not even going to give them a chance. But they're still producing an amazing thing. But the perception is they're a country star. They don't do this. They're not a part of that community. Google is not a gaming company. So, I mean, just because you have an amazing service, and you obviously know it, I obviously know it, everyone that's a creator here knows it, everyone that's probably watching us knows it. We love this service because of what it can do for us, but there's people that don't know or don't care to try because what they've been told is that this isn't a viable way to play a game. I mean, that you got to change the public perception, and I don't know how you would do it, but that's what I'd be focusing on from a front end side, because without public perception being positive, this is going to be failing. And I mean, we can't be spending so much money to help Stadia survive. Like it's going to require a lot more than just 12 creators and the 30 people that show up to all of our live streams. Like it's going to create, I mean, we're going to need more. So, I mean, creating a positive public perception is going to be a big deal.
I always say, hey, look, I love the platform, but I can't hold the weight of $1 billion company or multi-billion dollar company on my shoulders. It's just not plausible. Like you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to put your heads together, and you guys got to figure this out. And then really, for the most part, like a lot of us recognize this is your first foray into this. And I was a former big time fanboy of Xbox. So I was there when Xbox first stepped into the arena. So knowing what I know from back then, we're willing to help you, but it's just like some of it doesn't penetrate and it just pings off the glass silo that they're in a lot of ways. And they got to do better, and I believe they will. But you just hope it would be sooner rather than later, right? Yeah. So, all right, man. Great discussion. Trizzle Rector, he says, "Hey, what's up, people?"
What's going on?
Charles Aran says, "True," but I mean, he's talking. They're having a good conversation there in the chat as always. And Bippity Bop says, "My COD is still downloading." Laugh out loud. Damn right. Damn Skippy. Yeah. Matter of fact, I ran into an error. Trying to download it on my PC, and I just gave up on it. So technically mine's is still downloading too. That said, let's move on to the juicy stuff before we fight. All right, so let me do this. Let's do it like that. Okay, so we have new studios, new leadership. All right. Stadia is opening a new studio in Playa Vista, LA, California. The studio will be led by Shannon Studstill, formerly of Santa Monica Studios, that's responsible for the God of War reboot. And then let's go over the post real quick. I'm not going to read the whole damn thing. But our new Stadia Games and Entertainment Studio in Playa Vista. Stadia Games and Entertainment is setting out to change the way we play, enjoy, and create video games. Let me increase this for those that are watching. But we can't build those experiences without a talented team of game designers, artists, and storytellers. We started the journey with opening Stadia's first original game studio in Montreal last year. Today, we are adding a new Stadia Games and Entertainment Studio in Playa Vista, California, which will be led by an industry veteran, Shannon Studstill. So the reason why I brought this up, even though this is the latest news, but you would be surprised at how many people in the mainstream are not aware of this. Because I'll go and I'll put stuff out there on Twitter, and someone will say, "What? What are you talking? Huh? Who the hell? Oh, the hell with Stadia? How dare they?" You know what I mean? So this news is still unknown to a lot of people. But the main reason why I put that out there, Brian, I want to pick your brain about this is people say Stadia is dead. How does stuff like this combat that narrative as far as you're concerned?
Someone, I think this was in the whole litany of threads during the Tim Sweeney thing a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Someone's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Well, if Stadia is dead. No, it wasn't that. It was actually in reaction to this specifically. It's like, wow, for a dead platform, they keep making some great moves. It's like, well,
Yeah.
Google's just letting them burn through money, and then in a year or two, when they realize it's like, what the heck? No,
the investors will really love that. Yeah.
You know what kind of level investment? Yeah, exactly. What kind of level of investment this is? Like, you don't just open a studio. You don't hire one of the big names from a rival company to head it. And I was like, what? No, like, it is a great move by Google. The only problem I have is I wish they had started these studios maybe earlier.
Yeah.
Because I think it would have been a very good start having a game ready for launch. But I'm excited for what they're going to be producing, because that's a good hire for sure. Because God of War did all right? Right?
It did a little bit. It's just a couple of copies, right?
Yeah, just a couple.
For those that don't know my background, I came into this, and you own it. I'm an immature. I came into this generation as an immature Xbox fanboy, right? I didn't know any better. Please forgive me. But so when I saw God of War, I'm like, oh, that crappy God of War, that same old slinging this crap and slinging that crap. No one wants to play that. And look, I was one of the people spreading the rhetoric, Brian. God of War, Kratos can't even jump. This is going to be horrible. He can't jump. His feet doesn't leave the ground. And I played the game and my jaw dropped, especially that first fight with the stranger. Mm-hmm. Oh my, one of the best action sequences in a video game in a very long time, right? So with that being said, they knew what they were doing when they tapped Shannon. And let's not forget, for those that don't know, the vast majority of people that work with Stadia have lineage with who? PlayStation. So,
and Jade Raymond was with Ubisoft, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
And Ubisoft's a big supporter of Stadia, obviously. And
yeah, we need them to push the support a little bit more. I want that Uplay.
Soon.
Soon.
Yes.
I've said earlier, I think that moves like this are integral of a master plan that I believe involves in a long-term focus on superior first-party IP. That's why the PlayStation pedigree. And B, in the interim, while they're waiting for this to develop, because Jade Raymond has said recently it's going to take about 5 years before they come up with their quote-unquote Breath of the Wild. Yeah. But in the interim, them curating stellar second-party content until the first party is ready. Kind of like what Xbox did in the 360 era. Would you agree, disagree, or think there's more to this strategy?
I mean, it makes sense. I think when it comes to at least second-party studios, we'll probably see the Journey of the Savage Planet at some point this year. I think that makes a lot of sense. But I mean, you got to do something from a Google standpoint, have your platform being propped up, not just by third parties, but stuff that you can produce, because some people want to be convinced to join a platform because of what that team does from a game aspect. Like if PS4 didn't have any exclusives, I probably wouldn't have it, to be honest, but Google needs that. They need a reason for people to specifically try a specific game on their platform. Like, while Borderlands 3 is a great game, like people aren't going to buy, get into Stadia just for that. Like, it's not going to happen. So, I mean,
exactly.
The more moves like this, the better, obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah. Interesting comment here. And if you, and I always butcher this. I'm sorry, man. I'm old, man. I wear two pairs of glasses at the same time. Regorsness says they started one studio earlier. I think we'll have an announcement in December. If that's true, if you got a link to that, or if that's just some inside information, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. That would be interesting. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the studio is referring to as the Montreal one. But even then, I still think that was not done. That was done too late. I think that should have been done way before that. But announcement by December. I mean, it'd have to just be like a cinematic. Like, it can't be like actual game unless they've been secretly working on something. Yeah. I mean, it'd be a good way to end the year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, all right. Very big developments, a lot of stuff going on, and then the games, we'll talk about that a little bit too, Brian. But yeah, this just squashes the whole narrative of Google's dead. They only pay developers and wood chips. All of the silly stuff that we've been hearing. There's a lot of good news coming out there, but we got to be honest. There is some news that kind of is divisive in the. Well, I don't want to say divisive. That's not the right word, because we're not a community like that. But extenuates the different opinions that we have in the community, rather. And it's
been wild.
Gate. It's Doom Gate. And I showed it on the screen there, Brian. No Doom Eternal is not true 4K on Google Stadia, despite ID promising it would be. And I think that byline is very important in this whole deal here.
Who wrote this article? Like what?
This is the Eurogamer.
Okay.
Article.
That first of all, I mean, kudos to them saying that it's not Google's fault right away. Like,
exactly.
It isn't. Like, they didn't develop the game.
Well, curb your enthusiasm, because once you go deep into the article, they start. I bet. It smells like rotten feet. Google is this, But no. But it was. But here's what I think. Eurogame, and I don't want to babble too much about this because I've cried about this for the last 3 days, and I really want to pick your brain about this. Mm-hmm. And you've done and I appreciate it. You didn't have to, but I appreciate you holding back on your opinion on this until the show. Really. Yeah. Because you want it, I can feel it in you. I can feel the blood pulsating through your veins. Like, I really want to get down into this, but I'm gonna wait till I'm on the show with MM2K. But I think what Eurogamer wanted to do is if it wasn't for us, for you, for me, for the people in the chat, for those of us, Wingy in particular, I was watching Wingy's video where he was roasting some YouTubers for some of the false stuff that they said. I said, oh my gosh, man, this is horrible. Stop it, Wingy, stop it. Call an ambulance. But
stop it.
If it wasn't for us as a community now pushing back a little bit harder, I think that this article would have been a lot more bombastic. So I think they kind of ratcheted it down a little bit. But I'm with you. I think it's important that they say despite Ed promising it would be. So at least there's some acknowledgement of that.
Yeah.
But before we get into all that, here's just to give a brief overlay where I'm coming from and what I want to pick your brain about for everybody that's viewing.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think there's two questions here. Question number one. Well, let's get to the article real quick. I'm sorry for those that because there may be people that may not be aware. Okay. What happened was at GDC is, well, I'll let you tell it, Brian. What from your understanding, what's the issue here?
The issue is that, and this is how people are perceiving it, again, a perception issue, that Google advertised that Doom Eternal would run at true 4K, 60 frames per second when it launches on Stadia. Mm-hmm. And we found out it's going to be upscaled and it's not going to be a true 4K.
Yep.
So that's the big issue. And it's the perception that it's Google's fault, which, I mean, no, it's not. They didn't create the game.
Exactly. And it was Marty Stratton of Google that took the stage to say Doom Eternal would run at true 4K, prompting a round of applause. Okay, so now that we got that background totally transparent out there, I think it boils down to two questions because we're having different talks here in the community, and I think they're very all important. As far as I'm concerned, question one is, does resolution as it relates to the numbers being thrown around, 1800p, upscale to true 4K, which is 2160, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Does any of that affect gameplay and immersion that much to the average gamer? And question two, how important is it that all parties involved remain transparent with the gamer? So let's deal with question one.
Okay.
Oh, well, let me ask you, do you think that it narrows down to that, or do you think that there's more to the situation?
Well, I mean, it's when it comes to 1800 versus 2160, your gameplay's not being affected at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just another way they can kind of hit on Stadia, like, hey, your stuff's not as powerful as it is. But I mean, we'll get into a little deeper dive into it. But I don't know, man. It's just I hate that this news happened, to be honest, because it's just another thing that we're talking about that we shouldn't have to defend. But I mean, here we are defending because Google's the one that technically advertised it at GDC, and it's yeah. But as last I checked, Marty Stratton's not a Google employee, so
exactly. Yep. Now, so resolution again, just to confirm, your stance, which I feel agrees with my stance, and if not, it's okay. Mm-hmm. Resolution at the end of the 1800p opposed to 2160p, opposed to 3595p or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah,
no one with the naked eye is going to be able to tell the difference of that solely, right? No. Not a big deal. Not it's not going to kill a merge or anything. Okay, great. Okay. So my second question would be, and I think this is where people might diverge into different trains of thought here. How important is it that all parties involved remain transparent with the gamer? And let me add a little bit of context to it, because here's some tweets that I have put out there to help people understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I put out there, I tagged Eurogamer's comments, and I said, as we stated just yesterday, when I mean we, me and Duncan was out there, and I believe StadiaCast actually did a video on this where they said, Google, people are going to come after you on this. Like, hopefully you got some type of message. So basically what I said is, as we stated just yesterday, not just Google Stadia, but id Software and Bethesda need to explain this sudden parity with Xbox One X. They got up on stage and made the claim. They are the developer, video forthcoming. What do you, would you agree with that partially, somewhat, not at all?
I mean, yeah, they need to be transparent about it. And while I don't know if it's a hardcore gamer aspect of it, but like there are people this really does bother, that you're not getting 2160, you're getting 1800 just upscale. Like that does bother some people. And like I said, I don't think to the naked eye, I know I personally can't tell the difference. And I mean, there's times I can't even tell the difference between 1080 and 4K. Like sometimes games are just like optimized very well or upscaled very well. Like it, in the end, I don't think it matters. To me personally, it doesn't matter. So, I mean, that's just me saying it. But for me to say that it doesn't matter to other people would be very ignorant. And that's what's happening here, is that id Software and Google, I mean, it's like I said, it's not Google's fault, but it is their platform. So they need to defend it. They need to get out in front of it, and they need to be transparent and be like, well, I mean, at the same time, they don't want to say it's id Software's fault. Like, but maybe there has something to do with the actual game itself. And there's probably a reason why we're looking at something like the Switch not getting this game right away, because this game is just so graphically intense. I mean, I think the computer specs are probably out there as well, right? Like, it's just, this game is looking really intense. I'm wondering if id Software just couldn't achieve it on one end, but at the same time, maybe something else is going, like you're alluding to.
Yeah, they put, maybe what happened was, and that's a very great point. Even though we know that they went around, they did a world tour like the Beatles, right? Yeah, they went around everywhere, showed it to different people. They said, "Hey, look, true 4K." I know some of the most staunchest Stadia haters. I listen to their show. I listen to everybody. I give everyone a fair shake until they go too far off the reservation. Yeah. But they were going around and they were saying, "Hey, look, this thing works. Like, what Stadia needs to do is show more of this Doom Eternal, because this looks great. I'm still not getting it, but this I was hearing that a lot." Yeah. And so maybe in a real world environment, it just wasn't feasible. Yeah, I know there's the codec issue with VP9 versus H.264. There's a lot of variables out there. That's fine. But again, my question was leaning towards, okay, we don't like Google's messaging, which I'll get into a little bit more, but id Software. Like, what the hell? What are we doing here? Like, come on now. Like, what's going on here? You know? So.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, if it's something wrong with Stadia's ecosystem that they couldn't achieve it with Stadia, then they may not want to put them under the bus either. So, I mean, this is another conversation I'd love to be a fly on the wall for. But like, why didn't this happen? Like, this is a big issue to people. I think to the average gamer, it's not. Like, I wouldn't consider myself a hardcore gamer by any means. Like, I don't care if it's 1821. If the game's good, if it runs consistently, I'm more of a frame rate guy personally. So, I mean, if it runs well, that's all I care about. But there is the messaging out there, and I understand why people are upset about it, and they have a right to be.
So just to kick a little bit more sand in the face of Ed, no. I love Bethesda. I love what they do. Yep. And I'm trying to get you on more most wanted list, Brian, here. You know, why stop the trend, right? Get you in trouble with my rhetoric now. Yeah. Now, in this tweet, and let me know what you think about this, honestly. You know, in this tweet that I put out here a couple days ago, I did say, I just find it weird that originally when Ralph, and big up to Ralph Gaming, an up-and-coming star in the community, great streamer, you know, great presentator. He's just going to be, you know, he's going to be doing a lot of great things in the community. Ralph made the discovery that Duncan, again, Mr. Gumshoe himself, posted out there that originally the PlayStation 4, Xbox One X, and Stadia were all at 1440p upscale to 4K. Then all of a sudden, only the Xbox One X and Stadia is upgraded to 1880p to 4K. Smells like parody. Eurogamer. needs to reach out to Xbox too. So really now I'm a little bit past ID a little bit.
Yeah.
Because let's say this, Brian. If ID was hit with a parity clause, meaning if Xbox has the marketing rights, and we kind of seen something similar to this with Destiny 2, where there were murmurs that Destiny 2 on on Xbox could have done 60 frames per second, but PlayStation kind of clipped them at the legs and said, we're paying you. You don't make this thing perform better that much than what we do here. If we're seeing something similar here, how responsible do you think Eurogamer is in trying to look that out, or do you think they shouldn't even bother?
I mean, if they want full transparency and like not show a complete bias, yeah, absolutely. That's so anti-consumer if that's something that does go on behind the scenes, that they're dropping graphical resolutions and frame rate just because Sony threw a bag of money at them. Like that's if that comes out, that would be not a good look at all.
Exactly.
This whole situation is just weird, to be honest.
Yeah,
like
it's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wonder if the 1440 was they just kind of copied and pasted and just. So let me ask this because I didn't see this part. Was the Xbox One X that was originally listed as 1440p as well?
Yeah, they were all originally listed as 1440p, and you could be right. It could have been an error in posting, and then they copy and posted all of them. When in actuality, it's going to be 1800p for just those two platforms. Who knows? But again, it looks suspicious enough to where Eurogamer, who was out there when this whole parody thing was being mentioned for Destiny 2, they were all over this, and I have a link in like the document that we, but it's too long to go over. It's just so, and I might post it later on in the show for everybody to look at. Eurogamer was all over the whole parody question when it came to Destiny 2, and for them to just throw this article first thing in the morning and just disappear into the woods, it was confusing to me because something's going on and someone isn't being transparent. And you were self-aware enough, Eurogamer, to put in your subline, despite it promising it would be, right?
Yep.
So where was the further due diligence? I don't know. But to bring this thing all home, I kind of... Okay, so I know there was a lot of bibble babble from me about parody, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to skip over a lot of that. Here's where I think everybody, let me know what you think about this. I'll put it like this rather instead of a lot of the bibble babble that I have here. I think everybody's culpable. I'm going to go from the least culpable to the most culpable, and you let me know what you think about this. Because this is really about what you think about this. My thoughts are, Google is culpable, the least culpable, though, as far as what we know, because it was on their stage that id Software came on and said this.
Yeah.
And it was also on that very same stage that you guys toted 10.7 teraflops. And you guys need to be fully aware that if you're talking power, then you make crazy notions like quote unquote true 4K. You make it more relevant than it needs to be. Yeah. See, I'm going to piggyback off of what Chase was saying. Chase was saying we got to be careful about the type of 4Ks because there's AI and stuff involved. And I totally agree with that. On the flip side of that, however, Google makes that type of superficial talk relevant by showing teraflops on the screen. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, why are you doing, when you know that the average consumer looks at teraflops and they think of the highest resolution, they think Digital Foundry. So you're stepping in a bear trap unnecessarily. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't know why that's such a, I mean, something like a GDC, I can see why it's such a big deal, but like, that's not what I'd be leaning into if I'm trying to boost Stadia as a platform publicly. Like,
absolutely,
that is the popular thing, is boosting how much power you have. I mean, Xbox did the same thing when they announced the Series X, and
it's a mess. I know, and I know I'm kicking a dead horse here, but I'm very immature. No, so and then on top of that, here's what I think the problem is for Google as well as that. And I don't think Google did this wringing their hands, like the Birdman meme where he's at the window and he's wringing it. I don't think Google did. I think they truly looked at what Edge software was doing and said, you guys are running Vulkan, that Vulkan API. We got that connected to our thing. Hey, look, this thing is going to be true 4K. And they're probably high-fiving each other in the office only to find out that, well, we kind of over-talked here. And Google just put their head down and said, we don't know how to handle this.
Yeah.
But I think the problem for Google is, and let me know what you think about this, because I haven't heard anybody really talk about this. Again, number one, the 10.7 power focus, you did that to yourself.
Yeah.
And secondly, even though you did that to yourself and you're not bringing it up anymore, you haven't pivoted from it. It goes back to what you said. The true dynamic and the fantastic things about this platform off the gate ain't got nothing to do with teraflops. It has everything to do with an affordable, high-performing platform at your fingertips on the go, throughout the house. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Persistent. You know what I mean? Has nothing to do with teraflops. And you haven't pivoted your marketing from it yet. So until you officially pivot your market from that and say, okay, we said this, now we're focusing on that, you're going to continue to get attacked on that front. What do you think about that?
Well, the thing is, like, if I'm trying to convince someone to use a system, I'm not saying like, hey, do you know how many teraflops are in this compared to this? Like,
exactly.
They're like, what the hell are you talking about?
What
No,
are you talking about?
They want to know what it can do for them. And
Yeah.
if you just say it's powerful, that's all they need to hear. Like, they don't need to hear the actual minutia of what is going on behind the scenes. But at the same regard, as you said, they put that out there. So I mean, it's put up or shut up. And if they can't, I don't know. We obviously don't know the full story here, because is it a Doom problem? Is it its software problem? Is it Stadia not being powerful enough? Is it a parity issue? Like, there's so many assumptions we can make here, but it's just I mean, I'm glad they're not really kind of talking about that as much anymore. Like, so I mean, when it comes to the perception thing, as I mentioned, like, I think they need to boost like what this can do for the average gamer, which is a flexible gaming option. I mean, that's kind of starting to get a little off topic of what we're talking about, but I mean,
no, perfect. I think it's perfect.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I mean, if you're going to have that kind of conversation, then you need to be able to put up with it. So,
yeah. And I think too, before we move on, because I think even though we're talking a lot about this, I think they're the least culpable. But the thing is that to Chase's point, which is very valid, we got to get, especially when it comes to cloud gaming, we got to get off of native talk. This is not a native platform. Yeah. So crap that works on native devices ain't necessarily the same rule of law or Newton's apple, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to cloud gaming, right? Mm-hmm. So you can have AI and rapid pack math and all this other silly, crazy stuff that I don't understand. Yeah. That could make an upscale 1880 4K look just as good as native 4K on hardware. You don't know, right? That being said, again, there's the issue with the pivot. You know what I'm saying? And also, too, I think that what Google wants to do is they want to put adverts out there that focuses on, again, that performance, that flexibility, and the fact that it performs well. That's the true diamond in the rough. Yeah. When it comes to the system. So,
yeah, I mean, just simplify it. Like, no one needs to hear that you have 10.7 teraflops. Like, as I said, I mean, GDC, that kind of makes sense, because that's the kind of audience they're having at that. They are interested in that kind of thing. But like, going forward, like, just say, yes, we have a powerful console that allows you to take it anywhere. Like, that's what they can do. I mean, they just need to simplify it, because this is the average gamer we're talking about. And I mean, me, I don't care how many teraflops you have. You can run the latest games. That's all I care about.
Exactly.
All I care about.
Look, people don't understand what this means. Yeah. They don't understand how any of this works. And perception is not intended alone. We just spoke about this. We spoke about how superficial the average consumer can be. You can hate it or love it. It is what it is. I always use this example, Brian. If I'm walking home by myself and I see 9 nefarious people in an alleyway with bats and chains and they're dressed up like Michael Jackson's Beat It, I got 2 things that I can say to myself. I can say, you know what? I have every right to go down that alley and get the stew snot beat out of me. Or I can say, you know what? I have that right, but the smart thing to do is for me to go another way. Yeah. So despite the fact that the right thing for people to focus on is not all these polygon and compute units. They are. It is reality. And I'm going to close out that part with saying this too, and get your thoughts on something else. Is what people got to remember is that even though 4K can be, universally used as it comes to cloud gaming, people are used to hearing Digital Foundry break down 4K, right?
Yeah.
And the blades of grass here are so much. They equate that number that they don't understand as something more tangible as they break the stuff down.
Yeah.
So when you start using that number, you automatically put yourself under the minds of 4K of Digital Foundry. And Digital Foundry said when it came to Destiny 2 and with Red Dead Redemption that all 4K ain't the same. So you got to understand that. So that's why I think they should get out of the whole teraflop 4K thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And culpability as far as id Software, like if this is a parity issue, at the very least, I think Ed should have went to maybe a wet behind the ears Google and said, hey, look, guys, we run off of Vulkan, you run off of Vulkan. We can get this thing running at 4K, true 4K 60. But you guys got to understand, Xbox dropped us off a bag of money. So I don't know what that's going to do. I mean, how reasonable do you think that could be with Doom? I mean, with Bethesda?
I mean, I want to know if that's even a legal thing to do. Like, and I don't think id Software would be approaching Google like, hey, Microsoft just dumped a bunch of money for us to trash your port. So because if Google got wind of that, then I think they can take Microsoft to court over that kind of thing.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, great point. Point. And lastly, which nobody's talking about, this question is out here. Like you said, it would stink that gamers would have to go through this. What about Eurogamer not checking into this when they dwelled into this with Destiny 2? Like, how culpable? I think they're the most culpable in this, for them dropping the story, running off in the night, and not giving context to say, let's figure out the reasons why. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people listen to Eurogamer, obviously, and I mean, this is a conversation we're having today, and this is one thing that they put on blast from, the people that are kind of putting this whole situation down on Google's side. Like, it's I mean, I don't know how you can be try to be respected in the world of journalism and not get every single fact straight, or try to dive a little deeper. Now, if they said, hey, we reached out to Google, we got nothing, or we tried reaching out to id Software and we constantly got nothing, then okay, but same time, don't put someone down without having all the facts straight. Like, that's
exactly,
I don't know.
And I'm not beating up on Google. I feel like I'm a halfway decent, good judge of character. I feel that the people in Google are well-intentioned. They're just trying to get their ducks in a row. And even though I spoke a lot more on Google, even though I said they're the least culpable, it's only because I feel like they had the best intentions going into this. Yeah. The other two parties, not so much so. Like, and you even put more emphasis on that. id Software with the whole, they're not going to tell Google. They're not going to be honest stewards in this, right? And definitely Eurogamer, they just want clicks to say and have in their next board meeting, oh, we attacked Google Stadia again, our numbers are high. But it's very important for Google not to get snagged in these bear traps. Yeah. They got to do a pivot from this 4K thing, because like Chase says, and I'm going to bring this up here, because the Godfather is in the house. He says, Stadia Talk says, agreed, MM, that Google shouldn't have dived into P's and the K's. We're just telling you this because we know you guys have the best interest at heart. Don't fall, like we like to say in the gaming streets, don't fall for the okie doke. Don't fall for the silly stuff. Pivot away from teraflops. Focus on the real meat and potatoes, the performance, the constant 60 frames per second, the affordability. You know what I mean? Because I ain't got to pay $500 to upgrade. I've already have access to the upgraded version of Google Stadia. And
exactly.
So much more.
I mean, that's a good comment from Chase. Like, I mean, look at what's currently the most popular console in the world, and that's the Nintendo Switch. And guess who performs way under what the Xbox and the PS4 can do? So, I mean, they shouldn't have to focus on that. Like, it's
absolutely. But they should have learned from. I would be running commercials I would copy, because I've seen some success. I'm not as good as doing it, but I've seen some success ripping off Chase, right? I've seen a little, right, Chase? I've seen, he hasn't had me swimming with the fishes yet. I've seen some success ripping off. If I'm Google, I'm ripping the hell out of Switch. I got
yeah.
the commercial with the girl on the park on the rooftop too, but she's on her phone instead of the Switch. I'm in the skateboard rink with them too, but I'm playing on my tablet. I'm at the coffee shop on my laptop. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Keep
Success,
going.
success breeds success. I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I had that literal exact thought yesterday, and I was like, they literally just need to copy the Switch. Like, what they're doing is working, and Stadia can provide a much more powerful experience because, I mean, they're getting Doom day and date, and they're going to be getting all these other games like Cyberpunk and Avengers, games that the Switch is obviously not going to get because either it's not going to be able to run on it or some other reason. It's just, yeah, I mean, you do pretty much what the Switch does, but better in terms of, or at least they do more of it. So, I mean, better can be subjective, but it's more flexible.
All right. Well, that was a good fight.
Yeah.
That was fun. But no, big ups to Chase. Chase has been a leader in talking about this. Him, Eddie, and Dan. It was him, Eddie, Dan, and I think Ashes to Ashes. They had a great podcast. Everyone's had a great podcast. You had a great show this morning. Everyone's had great shows, and that's why I love this community, because at the end of the day, I tried to bring it all full circle with this.
Yeah.
Even though we have these different takes on this, at the end of the day, I still think that the definitive version for Dude is going to be on Stadia. Why? Because I'm still getting good 4K. I'm getting great 4K. It's going to look excellent. But not only that, I don't have to worry about load times. I don't have to worry about extra storage. And at the press of a button, it's instantaneously portable around my house. You cannot say that about any other platform, including PC. So.
And, you know, I mean, if I want to enjoy the game on my TV and I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of getting my ass kicked with my controller. I'm going to go to my computer and I'm going to start playing there. That's exactly. And Doom is a game that's going to just be perfect for that kind of thing because it's a first-person shooter. So I'm excited for that game. And I wish the Division 2 wasn't coming out the same week because I'm going to be split in 2 different ways. It's gonna be a good week. It's gonna be expensive though.
I may, the next time you hear me, Brian, I may be talking with a swollen jaw because I just got this inkling that I'm going to steal my wife's credit card to make a lot of these purchases, and it might not end up well for me. But just keep your fingers crossed. I told my wife, I said, "When's the last time you checked the finances?" She said, "Oh, I haven't." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Don't
keep it that way, please."
Yeah, keep it that way. Yeah, I got it covered. And then before we move on, because we beat the hell out of this, but I got to put this up here because this is a very great point by Chase. He says, "Yep, sell the convenience and cost just like Nintendo does. Show an everyday person on a couch switching between devices that sells. Show a game loading in under a minute." Absolutely.
And pretty much everyone that's done a review on Stadia, I know I did it when I did mine, is I showed that exact thing. Like I put my camera up to my TV and then I clicked out of it and it went to my computer and it loaded right up. Like people need to see that in action. Like, yeah. And obviously not everyone's gonna see my videos, but I mean everyone will see a Google video, so they need to show that off.
Absolutely. Stadia, Chase is giving me good advice. He says, "Don't abuse those husband tokens, MM." I know. I'm immature. I keep telling you guys I'm owning it, man.
He speaks from experience.
I speak from experience. I speak from previous sore jaws. So, all right. Great discussion, man. Great discussion. Let's get on to our last topic before we go to Q&A. And more news, man. More news. So, we got some gaming news here, and I just wanted to get you. This isn't really Stadia specific, but it's coming from our good friends at Stadia Source. Let me put this over here, and let me do this like so. Our good friends at Stadia Source, your number one source for Stadia news. They tell us, they talk about E3 being canceled. Now we know after they made this original post, Brian, that there was a formal, notice that went out about E3 being canceled. What do you think about E3 being canceled?
I mean, people thought it was going to be canceled for other reasons, but you can't be too safe during these kinds of things. And in the end, this might be something that just blows over and it's not that big of a deal? Maybe, but what if it isn't? And it's a smart move to do this. And something like E3, it feels like it should be a digital event anyway at this point because of just the kind of world we live in. And I'm excited to see what people will end up doing. And it'll probably end up with like Nintendo Directs. There'll be a State of Play around that time, even though Sony wasn't going to be at E3 itself. But it makes sense. It makes sense. It would be socially irresponsible not to. It's still kind of far away. So, but at the same time, they want people that are planning to go to this event be able to get their refunds and all that kind of thing. So it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What can they do to save it though? Like, let's just say, because Jason Schreier put this out there. I don't know if you saw it. He said if everyone sees success with their individual digital, showcases, they're not coming back to E3. No. And that might be the case. What do you think they can do to save it? Because I think E3 has like a particular magical feel about it. You know what I mean? Right. I'd hate to see it go away all the way, but what do you think about all that?
I don't have an answer for that. It's just people just aren't. When you have someone like Sony not wanting to go there, that's a big hit to them, because that's one of the big console manufacturers. Without them, it's put legitimacy to the idea that E3 is just not all that big of a deal. And I think digital has a lot to do with it. Like, Sony can save a lot of money just by doing a State of Play. They don't have to show up. And in the end, people are watching from home anyway. So it's just like, why don't we just stay in, California, wherever Sony's studio is at, and just do it there? Like, I don't know how you'd save E3 at this point. Like, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
It might be a lost cause, man. I love the nature. Here's my issue with the what do you call it? Here's my issue with the with everyone doing their own a la carte service.
Yeah.
My issue is that I don't like that, because you're likely not going to have the press there to press you. You know what I mean? For lack of a better term, you're going to totally create this atmosphere, and of course you're going to put yourself in the best light, which you should, because it's more business.
Right.
But I think it kind of unbalances the playing field to where you're coming to an event, I'm coming to an event, you don't control the mechanics of everything, and we get to ask you the tough questions after you put everything out. You know what I mean? So that's why I think there's a benefit to that. Or do you think that in today's current climate, do you think that doesn't even matter anymore?
Well, I think a disadvantage of something like E3 being canceled is the publicity that would come from a company getting E3.
Yeah.
You can put like a live stream out there on a YouTube channel, but E3 is a bigger deal. So, more people are going to be clued into an E3 stream instead of a X company stream. Like the platform you get to talk at E3 is a big deal, and that is a coming out party for a lot of people, or a big deal for maybe a new console coming out. So got dogs barking. I don't know if you can hear them.
I was watching NPD earlier, and Matt Piscatella, a great guy, his dog was barking. Poor guy. He's just cracking up while he's doing it. He's like, oh, this thing won't shut up. We might as well just go.
The neighbor dog is starting some business.
Exactly. Now, did you catch the Larian Studio? And if you didn't, that's okay. I'm the only nerd probably out there that care to do a live show for an AMA. But did you catch any of the AMA?
Not live or anything. I saw the roundup on the Stadia subreddit about it, and I think this is the full one. Okay. I don't think there's any Stadia specific questions, right?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah. No Stadia specific questions. Yeah.
I don't know if someone did ask them, they just refused to answer them. But that's the part I would have been interested in. These are obviously dealing with the game specifically, and that's probably more important anyway, because people want to know about the game itself. But I haven't been able to dive into literally everything about it. But the one thing I took away immediately was that there was no Stadia talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that I did catch, again, it was to your point, which is universal, is that Larian Studios is getting pressed. I don't want to say a lot, but they're getting pressed by some of the hardcore Dungeons and Dragons, Baldur's Gate fans to say, hey, look, we get that you make cute games and people like them, but we don't like the feel, the aesthetic that you're putting to this so far. What about this and what about that? And Larian is cool as can be, man. They're like, hey, look, we get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But we trust what we're able to do. Stay tuned. You know what I'm saying? There's no double talk. There's no skipping the questions. They're going right down the center, and they're very confident about what they're going to do. So
yeah, I think this was more successful than the Stadia AMAs a couple months ago, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then let's see here. The last, what's going on here? It's not letting me copy this, and then we'll get past that. Say something like this, boop, bada boom. We go back to Stadia Source, your number one source for Stadia news. I wanted to go over the games that are coming in March. Why my wife is going to dislocate my jaw in the next couple of days. Man, geez Louise, like this is a game explosion. Like, I don't even know what to do. So let's look at what we got so far in March. I think Supercross and Spitlings came out in February, right?
Supercross did. Spitlings, I think, was
March.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. So we've had to critically acclaim SteamWorld games, even though there's no critically acclaimed indie games according to Business Insider. But I don't want to get Brian in no more trouble.
Nowhere to be found. I don't know where the hell they're
exactly.
At. Yeah, whatever.
So we got those two games. Have you had an opportunity to play those games, Brian?
Dig 2 I have. The thing is, I didn't want to get too far into it because I wanted to play the first game. Gotcha. And then SteamWorld Quest is not a game I would typically be interested in, but the amount of just positivity of that game in terms of how good it is from everyone else, I'm like, I gotta try it eventually. So it is on my radar to actually play it. There are claims, of course, but
exactly.
I have played Dig 2. I love the way it plays. But I'm going to pick up SteamWorld Dig 1 and then go through that first.
Now, I've did a lot of talking about Serious Sam Collection, and I'm a Serious Sam fan. My brother is a big PC gamer, and recently when he came to town, I showed him Stadia, and he was like, "Oh, that thing is going to be crap," and he was amazed. He said, "Oh man, I want to get that," but he couldn't because he's in a condo and they have like community internet. I don't know, where they're all sharing like the crappiest bit rate or whatever.
Sounds like me in college. It was awful.
So he couldn't get it. But what are your thoughts on Serious Sam? Are you a fan, or are you interested in this game at all?
I am interested in it, but with my ever-growing backlog and just the pro games itself is growing a huge backlog of games. It's on my radar. I want to wait on a sale before I pull the trigger. Otherwise, if I start beating some games, I'll pick it up because it looks like a damn good time and something I would heavily be interested in. So I know everyone swears by it, so it's on my radar for sure. And
then also we have SteamWorld Heist and SteamWorld Dig, and those are the games that you the paid for games, but they're very cheap. What, $15-20 or something like that?
Yeah. Heist is a damn interesting game too, because it just is so unique in the way it plays. And that one I'm ready to start playing too. But again, I want to go through in the order too. So any of these, the reason why I don't have anything to say about any of these games, because again, this is going to be a rough month for me because I'm holding out. I'm being honest. I'm holding out for Doom, Serious Sam, and The Division. And I'm kind of holding out because I don't know how much Division is going to cost, right? Yeah. So I'm going to get these games, but I just want to see, which credit cards I'm going to swap, right? So I mean, that's been my biggest issue is I want to know how much these games are going to cost. I don't want to find out literally the day it shows up. Like something like a Doom Eternal, we know what that's going to cost because it's a new game. So, but like Division 2, I mean, if I think $40 at the very max for a base version would show up, but that I think is too expensive. But yeah, I would love to know.
While we're on that subject, I want to big up to Project Storm is in the house. Big up Project Storm. I appreciate you coming through. Let's go. Okay, so those are the games that are on the platform right now that came out in March. And for those that are interested, like this is everything that's out here now. So there's like 32 games or something like that now. And this is why I was so frustrated with Business Insider when they wrote their article. All they had to do was come here. Yeah. All they had to do was come here. That's all you had to do. Like, come on now. So there's all these games here. It's not the biggest lineup in the world, but as you can see, most of these are like heavily critically acclaimed games over the last 18 months. You know what I mean? So it's not the worst lineup in the world. No. It's just not huge. Let me go back to
but it's a young platform. I mean, you just got to give it time. And people aren't. I mean, it's like the Xbox One didn't have like 85 games at launch. It takes time.
Stop it. Exactly. All right. So here goes some of the more interesting games that are coming out in March for just like the final games that are coming out in March, unless we get more surprises. We got Tom Clancy's The Division 2. And we just spoke about that. I heard you earlier, and to make sure I understand right, because I am old, you're expecting the base game to be around $20, correct?
I'm hoping. I think
You're
that
hoping.
I think that makes the most sense because right now, I mean, I could see it being at 40 because it physically retails for 40. So I mean,
Okay.
I if I had to put money on it, I'm going with 40. 20, I think, is a solid start. 40 would be a good spot to have a launch sale of Division 2 and Warlords with it. I think what we're going to end up seeing is a $60 launch with that DLC included, which that'd be okay. But if the base game itself is $60, I'm holding off. That's way too much.
I'm a Ubisoft fanboy, and people that are listening say, "What aren't you a damn fanboy of?" I love it, but I do love Ubisoft, but there has been some questionable things in relation to Stadia. Even though they support them, this is questionable, and I get it. They've had to uproot their lineup because of the performance overall of Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I get it, and Google has the least saturation of everything they support, so maybe they kind of push that a little to the side a little bit further, a little bit. But one of the things that was questionable to me, and I know this isn't Google's fault, this is Ubisoft, is the ultra high price of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, right? That's just too damn high. And I get maybe there was some agreement, Brian, that because we gave it away free for Project Stream, that when it hits retail in your store, we're going to keep it at full price, and maybe they're trying to make up the difference. I don't know, but that dynamic kind of worries me when it comes to the Division 2. Even though Ghost Recon Breakpoint, when it released, was $38. But what do you think?
That's a good point. I forgot about that. So you might see some kind, like I was hoping it was like an immediate discount on the Warlords and Division 2 combined. But I looked this up earlier, actually. Assassin's Creed Odyssey still retails $60 on like Xbox. It's currently on sale, but it's normally it's at $60 still, which floored me because the Assassin's Creed games typically get a pretty good price drop, and I mean they're always on sales, but
it could be Ubisoft's just trying to, because again, they've had underwhelming numbers. I think what Ubisoft did, again, not to get too far into the weeds, I think they bolstered their numbers too high this year. I want to know who does their figures, because they thought because the Division did very well in a lot of regards, especially when you look at NPD and a lot of the top 20 sales, and it's still heavily underperformed. So I think they were too ambitious on what that was going to do, and that was going to be, and those sales of the Division 2 were going to be cannibalized or vice versa, for the simple fact you got Ghost Recon Breakpoint, a game that I love, coming out in the same year. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I don't know. But hopefully the Division 2 is like, I'm thinking base 10, maybe 20 with an additional. I'm hoping altogether the retail for base and this expansion is $39.99. But don't forget, that doesn't include year one content.
Right. Well, it might though. I mean,
that's
what if I was Ubisoft, I would be launching everything that's released at this point for $60.
Okay, I got you. I can swing that. Swing. Well, my wife can swing that. She can swing that.
She's fine. She'll be fine.
She'll be fine. Yeah. My jaw, on the other hand, I don't know. All right, so then we got the aforementioned Doom Eternal. Big time game. First game, kind of really built from the ground up for Stadia. You expecting big things from this game, man?
From the community, I expect this probably to be the most purchased game without a doubt.
Gotcha.
It's going to be a blast. I'm playing through the first one's campaign right now on the Switch, and it's just a bloody good time. Literally, it's a bloody good time, and it got great reviews. And I'm expecting Doom Eternal to just be that much better. And this is I think this is actually I was trying to scroll up on the list, and it's actually your webpage here. But I was like, I think this is the first like new game day and date. Darksiders. That might have been the first one.
Darksiders. Yeah, really. Yeah. Well, Darksiders and Guild is a platform exclusive, but Darksiders was the first game that they got before everybody else.
Right. But I think Doom is going to appeal a lot more people than Darksiders did, and. I mean, Google has been pimping up Doom this entire time that Stadia's been a thing. So I'm expecting big things from Doom on Stadia for sure.
Absolutely. Crew 2. This was a surprise, came out of nowhere.
Mhm.
Crew 2. What do you think? Are you I mean you're in the I'm not that big into racers anymore,
Mhm.
even though I am going to do the grid. I'm going to jump in and get it and join you guys one day. But what do you think about Crew 2? Have you played it before, or what are your thoughts on the game altogether?
Crew isn't a game I played yet.
Mhm.
Again, that's going to depend on price. It's something I'm interested in for sure.
Okay.
I think we knew this was coming in March, but we didn't expect that announcement yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever it was, that we're getting that game. And there's a third game on this list that isn't actually on this list that we're looking at, but
Oh, wow.
we'll get, yeah. But I'm interested in it for sure.
What's that third game? Is it Lost Words or
Monopoly?
Oh yeah, that is right. Yeah. Stadia Swords.
That's gonna be the barn burner right there.
Exactly. Yeah, but no. Oh, there we go. It's down here, but they just got to add to the
Yeah. I think it's the end of April.
Yeah. I mean, okay.
It's not. It's if I had to guess on games that don't sell the most, that'll be it.
Because that's gonna be it.
Monopoly is such a. It's for a specific person. I enjoy Monopoly personally, but
oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
It must have been a really easy port, because otherwise I don't see the financial benefit to bring a Monopoly over.
Put it in there. Just throwing it in there. It's just to add volume. You know what I mean? Because volume is a big rolling point. So no, great. And last but not least, Lost Words Beyond the Page. It's a critically acclaimed indie game that isn't even out yet. It got 6 awards, man. How important do you think this is? I mean, we kind of touched on this earlier, but how important do you think this is coming to the platform?
Well, even more important is that it has a year exclusivity on Stadia.
Oh, what?
Yes. So that's a big deal, because I mean, if
it's time for me to send out a tweet. Go ahead, I'm listening.
It's a big deal because indie games are the backbone of gaming. So I mean, having something like a Lost Words and having an exclusive could be a big deal if it performs well with the community. Now, you can win all these awards from all these media companies, but if the community at large doesn't care too much, then that's a problem. But so many people are excited for this game. And just on first look, it wasn't something that initially appealed to me. But I mean, I'm going to wait to see what people think about it and watch gameplay and see how it looks and plays. And if it does well, it's something I'm going to definitely pick up for sure. But yeah, it's going to be exclusive for 12 months, I believe. I don't know who announced it specifically. I don't know if it was Google themselves or who's their publisher. It's Sketchbook Games. Is that it?
I think so. Yeah. Hold on. Who's Events of Astoria? Sketchbook Games. Yes, you're absolutely right.
It was them or Google that announced it was going to be a 12-month exclusive, I believe. So big deal.
Exclusive. Good get. All right. I gotta be an asshole. Sorry. Excuse my French. I gotta put it out there. You don't understand, Brian. In these DMs, if I was a total jackass, I'd show these DMs. I get hammered. Why? And one of the funniest things, and big ups to, he's a good friend of mine, so he won't mind me doing this. I forgot his name. I said he's a good friend. I forget his damn name. Exactly. Fonzarelli. He's a co-host of a show called RDX. It's really the biggest Xbox show on YouTube right now. It's even surpassing Podcast Unlocked, which is, it's a great feat. That being said, he asked me, he said, MM2K, why are you always advertising Stadia? And I looked at my phone because I had to do a double take, like, hold on, you're a co-host on a sole Xbox podcast where you and the co-host do nothing. Well, not him, but your co-host do nothing but tweet Xbox 24/7, and you're asking me why. And this is why. This is why I'm doing it, because people need to know the truth. They need to know that these games are coming out here and that this is a great experience. So
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to do well because so many people are excited for it. And that's awesome.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that is it for all of the topics that we had in store. So anything else, Brian, before we get to Q&A?
Someone mentioned it earlier. I wanted to get your take on it about AT&T lifting their data caps right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know what company or publication talked about. This might be a good conduit to eliminating data caps throughout the country. Do you think that's a possibility? Like, since it's discussed, like, okay, so if you can lift these right now, what's stopping you from always doing it? Like,
from what I understand, my brother, and this, I don't know, My brother used to be a VP at a
Mhm.
local internet company, like when Netscape and all these little
Mhm.
smaller internet companies were.
Yep.
Stargate was the name. I can, because they're dissolved now. And yeah. So he told me years ago. He said this whole cap on internet and data and all this other stuff is self-imposed.
Yep.
It's and he said they're actually costing themselves money to cap it. They
Yep.
said everyone back in 2001, 2002 could have had T1 internet. They're capping it in the hopes of creating a market that is going to be more lucrative for them in the long run. So yeah, and actually, and what he's saying is true, which it sounds like it is now. And people,
Yeah.
I've always told that to people, and they said, "Oh, that's bullpucky," but this is proving it. Like,
Yeah.
data caps is an artificially made thing. It's artificially made to pilfer, data consumers.
Yeah.
So, the more get out there with your pitchforks and say, "Hey, everybody can do this now," But it's just an interesting development, and it shows how the truth will always come to the surface. So.
Right. So I mean, I have Comcast, and they have a certain setup. If you have a certain router, you can get unlimited for free. For free, I put that in quotes. But if you don't have that router, you can spend like $50 or something to have unlimited data every single month. So let's assume everyone did that. Are you saying that that's always been possible?
Yeah,
I thought we couldn't do it. I thought there just wasn't there's a limit to it. But no,
Exactly.
it's a money thing, and
it's a money thing.
Your business, you want to make more money. I get that, but think of how many more customers you'd have if you had that unlimited, just right out the gate.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
It's people trying to turn a quick buck and not realizing they're cutting off their nose to spite their face.
Yep.
Like you said, if you just created a market where everybody had access to the stuff, the more in demand it would become, and the more people would have it, right?
Yeah,
and you would automatically be uber rich from it. So,
right. I agree.
Very interesting. All right, no, great topic. Any other questions before we get to Q&A?
Now let's do it.
All right. So, please put your questions out there for me and Brian to go over. At any given moment, Tim Sweeney could be jumping through the window and his dog bounty hunter get up trying to whisk Brian away. So please let us know. Seven says, "Hey, what's up, Seven? Good to see you, man. Finally."
What took you
he's
so long?
Gonna be the first one here. Yeah. Regorsness says data caps is artificial. Here in Europe, we don't have it, and companies have no problem. Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know if it was him or someone brought that up in my stream this morning. I was like, yes, I know. We're jealous.
I know. When we were going around, Brian, advertising Verizon with the $80 package, and I'm like, this is a great deal. Big ups to Cold Blood Sensei. He's normally in here, and he's a Stadia hater, but he's a good guy at heart. He's Oscar the Grouch. Everybody on Sesame Street says, "Oh, Oscar," but Oscar's still there, and you must love him, right? So, Cold Blood Sensei said, "Hold on, $80? Like, that's not a deal." He's from Germany. This is not a deal. Like, what the hell are you talking about? But it is over here in the States, and again, we it's all about that mighty dollar.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Let me see here. This is a great point. What do you think about this? Charles Arand says Monopoly will be pro.
It's
for April?
Eventually, maybe, but it's coming out at the end of April, so I don't think that will happen. If it was announced it's coming April 1st, yeah, why not? But I believe it's like April 28th or something. It's not gonna be pro in April. Yeah.
Okay. So I thought it was coming out in March, but no. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Who else we got? Come on. Anybody got any questions? We got Brian here from Stadia for Club Stadia. He is, sitting here with me on my bullcrap channel. Here goes. Speaking of Cold Blood Sensei, here goes another one of my supporters. He loves giving me a hard time. He says, "Sorry, I meant to use 5 terabytes per month with Comcast with no charges. Competition is always good." Shake, you've been behaving yourself. You actually was at my AMA yesterday, and you had positive things to say. Are you okay? Hey, Shake, we got to get you quarantined and get you checked out, good brother. I don't know, something's going on here. But he says, "Sorry, I meant to use 5 terabytes per month." What do you think about that? Competition's always good, he says.
Absolutely, competition's always good. That's why I'm such a proponent for GFN and xCloud to do well, because guess who will up their side of things? Google. So I mean, competition is good. It breeds better services and products for who? The consumer. I agree.
Someone says, where are the pro deals? So yeah, what are the pro? I guess the pro deals for March.
There's nothing.
Yeah,
The last one went off sale, I think, last Wednesday or Thursday, and the only thing in there on sale at all is Destiny 2. But guess what? Pro members don't get any
exactly. Yeah,
for that. I mean, we could buy it if we want, but we got it already.
Yeah, we got it already. Yeah, and while we're waiting for people to come up with questions, let me pick your brain on this.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this whole Destiny 2 being behind the paywall thing? Do you think it's temporary or it's just the nature of the business model? What do you think?
I think it's what they're going to be doing going forward. I'm not like, when I look at it from the business side of things, it makes all the sense in the world. I don't want people to just be playing a game for free because I got to make money. Like, you want to make this whole system better, then you're going to have to charge for things like that. And it's another benefit to having pro subscription. Like, I think it's good to build up that value of why you should go pro. You get these free to play games. You don't have to spend any more money on top of your $10 a month. And I mean, Xbox is the only other one that does it right now. And some people may say it's anti-consumer, charging for free to play games. But I mean, like, this is a free console that you're not paying Google a dime for if you don't want to. And being able to play these games for free, absolutely nothing. I mean, they're not making money doing so. I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. From a business side, it makes sense. I'm gonna be a pro member anyway, so it doesn't really bother me personally, but it does bother people, and I get that. I understand it, but sometimes you got to think from the business side, and that makes perfect sense.
I read this already. Bibbidi Bob says, I have WoW internet. I don't have any data caps. Cloud gaming will make a lot of these companies change. Phil Harrison did allude to that. And he got laughed at when he said, I think a lot of it. What do you think about that, Brian?
I mean, they should. I mean, I could see Comcast just being like, no, we don't need to do that. Like, it's better for consumers in the end, but I mean, at the end for them, it's all about money. And Comcast is notoriously a very not consumer friendly company. So I unless they're getting pushback from competition, I don't see them doing anything about it. Them specifically. But I mean, Comcast is the biggest provider, at least in my area. So there's really no one else to go to. So until there's another company that provides their service at maybe a lower cost with no data caps, then I don't think something like an Xfinity is going to change.
That kind of sucks because
I agree.
I have Comcast, Fios, and a couple of other rinky-dink servers, and they're all competing. And I was, even before Verizon made that deal with Stadia, I was able to get a gig up, gig down internet, no caps for $74. So that was because of the competition in the area. I just open it up, guys. Like, but the problem is this has to be, I think. And a lot of people might not like the word regulation, whatever. I'm not trying to get political here. I get it. But I think this has to be at least looked at. We won't use the word regulated. It has to be looked at like a commodity. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't sit there and say, we're not going to allow water tanks to be around here because, you know what I'm saying? Like, open this up like a commodity. Make it accessible to everybody at normal rates, at normal flow rates, and people will flourish. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get it. All right, everybody's woken up in the chat, Brian, all of a sudden. So great. First thing is first. Let's go back to Stadia Weekly says everything can't be free and cheap. You're going to have to pay for something, and I think he's referring back to what you were talking about with Destiny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, I don't really have much else to say on it. It's just, you got to look at it from a business perspective sometimes because imagine you're a company trying to make money. Are you going to just give everything for free? Like, no, you're in it to make money. So sometimes you take the good with the bad.
There's the difference between a business and a charity. Okay.
Yes.
People don't go in the stock market to end up to be a charity. They're in this to make money. So there has to be a balance. And I made a video on this earlier, unrelative to Stadia. I was talking about Naughty Dog and this whole crunch thing. And I said it's a very complex situation, but we got to take into consideration that there could be crunch. There is crunch. And then but these people have to make money. So where do we lay into this whole situation? They're not going to keep making these games for $60 and then put all these open worlds in here and and not create crunch. You know what I mean? Like these companies are in it to make money. We got to keep that in mind, you know. So. Shea Capo says, this is a great question. What exactly is Amazon going to do to push Stadia? Has there been any information from them? What do you got to say about that, Brian?
The only information we know is they're having their talks. If GDC still happens in the summer, that's when they're going to do it. Otherwise, they'll probably just do an online facing thing. Just existing is going to push Stadia because Amazon, as far as I know, I think they're farther along when it comes to first party IP. Which is a big deal. So, I mean, maybe they'll push that whole development cycle along. I mean, kind of going back to the whole Naughty Dog thing, that some interesting Twitter threads going on. And I don't know if you've seen about Naughty Dog is the crunch time with Last of Us. And of course, Cyberpunk's had the same issue when it comes to the developers that are kind of getting pushed to the limit when it comes to work. And I hope when Amazon announces everything that Google doesn't pull that kind of move. I don't want to hear about that. They're going to push each other, which is awesome. And Amazon, I'm interested in how Amazon's going to be viewed in the public because they are also not a gaming company. They own Twitch maybe, but that's all they have when it comes to gaming itself. So it'll be interesting to see how the public views Amazon, what they will be offering. And I'd be very interested to see how Amazon will go forward moving when it comes to like selling like Xbox games or PlayStation games on their website, and if they'll bury it down in the search or what they'll do with that kind of thing too. But now I'm just
Amazon, I think what Amazon might do is they might have. I think they've looked at how Stadia is getting its teeth kicked in, just in public perception, not in performance, but in public perception, and they're probably saying to themselves, you know what? Let's have a dedicated device solution too, because their very first game is coming out for PC. It's coming out in May. That New World, the MMO. So they might just end up saying we're going to have a dedicated device solution. You can either play our games natively on PC or you can just play it in the cloud. You know, we'll see.
That'd be interesting. Because I know a lot of people wanted the ability to download their Stadia games. I'm like, well, it kind of defeats the purpose of what Stadia is doing. But that's what consumers want. I mean, if I think it's kind of the model xCloud might end up going with is having the ability to play these games natively on your hardware or play them in the cloud. And it'd be interesting if Stadia tries to combat that with something similar or if they just keep pushing what they're doing.
I think an idea that was being floated out there, the interesting point is that I don't think they're going to do it within the first 18 months. But after that, if the murmur continues, cloud gaming is for the devil. If that continues, then they're going to have to look at a dedicated solution. And I think they work with GOG and Ubi and Uplay Plus. You know what I'm saying? The combination of those two, because GOG is going through some trouble. So them partnering with somebody would be key for their success of their storefront. And Uplay Plus is already a favorite storefront on PC. So, you know, and then they're already doing, hey, look, they're already setting the ground for with cross play and cross progression on PC. So, you know, who knows?
I love cross play and cross progression. It's so pro consumer.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It's a good move. It's a good move.
Absolutely. Seven says, why are people comparing a next-gen platform like Stadia to an Xbox One X and are happy if they perform equally? Yes, I'm talking about Doom. So is your question, Seven, why are people comparing it in favor of Stadia? Or are you saying it's a shame that Stadia doesn't? I don't know. Because I would not fully understanding the context of your question. I would say, and we'll get Brian's thoughts on this too. I would say people are doing it because it's the norm. You know, you always look, perception is not just the law. You compare what's tangible in front of you to what's new. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we say Stadia has to get out of that teraflop talk, because it's not a winning argument for them. It's performance, it's comfortability, cheapness, ease of portability. A lot of that comes from Switch. You know what I'm saying? People are familiar with Switch. Stadia is better off comparing what they have to offer to Switch opposed to Xbox right now until the upgraded server blades come. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Brian. What are your thoughts on that?
People are comparing it because it exists in the current gen. I mean, that's just going to be a natural thing for people to do, and it's acceptable. Like, I mean, they're still competing with the Xbox One X and the PS4, and they should be. That's why they're comparing it, and that's
Agree.
That's all I got to say about that.
Stadia Weekly One says Amazon has their own studio and already are working on first party games, and they have cash on hand to completely direct. Yeah, like me and Chase always argue, they are the lion in the Serengeti. And everyone's just all of the wildebeests are just looking like, you know, this thing gonna bounce out here and rip us to shreds.
It's gonna be an interesting summer for sure.
Okay, Jacques Vajra says, and I have no idea. I'm the least technically inclined person on this side of the planet, so hopefully Brian has an answer for this. Do you think Starlink will help as well? Do you know what Starlink is?
When I saw that comment, I literally had to Google it. So the idea is it's a low-cost broadband service being beamed by satellites. Now, as someone that has used satellite internet, and I know the infrastructure will absolutely be different, otherwise it'd be kind of pointless. Satellite internet is not good, because satellites will always have the weather issue, and unless there's, I mean, it could help if it's a low-cost broadband service, and obviously if it's a satellite, then that can definitely help anyone. So I mean, maybe that would push like a Comcast, say, okay, maybe we should lay some lines down in a rural area now, because we got Starlink who has 1 gigabyte down and they're doing it for $50 a month. I mean, we want that competition. So I mean, it absolutely. So I mean, competition breeds competition, obviously. So it could help. I don't know too much about it. So I mean, I don't want to start talking about things I have no clue about.
All right, we got 2 more questions, and then before we wrap up, because Brian got to get some rest, man. He's been up for like
I took like a 2-hour nap. I'm good.
7 says Stadia standard should not be Xbox One X. It should be something like a potential with PC with its performance on paper. It should be way better than an Xbox One X. So he was hitting to the fact that you know, we should be seeing better performance out of it than X. Here's the problem with that in my mind, and we'll get Brian's thoughts on that as well. I don't look. Digital Foundry even said that they're kind of bewildered on why Stadia games aren't truer 4K, you know, because they've examined the hardware, and the hardware is way more than capable of doing what they said it could do.
Yeah.
So it might be a bandwidth issue. If you watch Google I/O, they talk about the challenges that they had in different codecs that'll give you great fidelity, but aren't that taxing on your internet. So it could just be that, and they're still trying to figure that out. Until you figure that out, a business term that I like to use, product placement, how people visualize your goods or service, should never be about something that you can't produce at the moment. So being that you can't produce it at the moment, I don't like asserting Stadia to power. I like asserting it to affordability, convenience, performance. So until they get there, until they start admitting the truer 4K or the ultra dynamic 4K or whatever the hell, I know that's an oxymoron, but until they do that, Brian, I don't think they need to talk about power at all, especially against PC. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's something you could have announced in passing, but if all the games that were coming to Stadia weren't 4K 60, then they should have just kind of ignored it, I think.
Yeah.
Stadia standard should not be with Xbox One. And you're right, but the thing is, a lot of these games are ports, and you're not going to have a developer spend all this time and money making a game true 4K when they're, first of all, not sure about the platform itself. So I mean, it's a young platform, and we're not saying Stadia is going to be a success. It could fail. But that's what companies are thinking about. They want to make sure that their investment is not wasted, and they're not necessarily going to create a better version of a game for maybe 100 people that are going to end up buying it. Like they'll do it when they start making new games for it, because they can start from the ground up. They don't need to go back, rework everything. They just want to simply port everything over.
I'm sorry about that. You didn't hear that, did you?
Well, I did.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know. Hold on. Let me do this. I gotta. Somebody's calling in.
They're calling me.
How does that even get through? Like I thought. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of these games just weren't built from the ground up. So if you're expecting like, what's a good example here? Because now I gotta look at the games list, because let's take Rage 2 for instance. Like, I know they obviously did some work on the game, bring it over. But I mean, they're not going to just simply go back and rework everything to make it the absolute best possible game based off what Stadia can deliver. Now, I'm expecting Cyberpunk to do that. If we're looking at Cyberpunk and we're talking 1440p, then maybe there is an issue with what Stadia can provide. But I do believe new games won't have an issue when it comes to utilizing Stadia's power.
Someone has our Skype number that we use for other shows, and they're letting me know, or the wood planks need to be picked up. So someone has the wrong number, apparently. They sent a text to follow up.
Tim Sweeney, come on. You're trying to infiltrate.
I knew I shouldn't have harbored a fugitive. No.
There you go. FBI wants to know your location.
Poor Brian, man. Brian is the nicest guy you could meet. He doesn't, and look, I'm going to be honest with you, Brian. When I saw your response to Tim Sweeney, I said, no, draw blood. So that's why me and Chase got in there. Chase said, you know what? You put him in the figure 4 leg lock and I'll drop the people's elbow on him. And I said, okay.
I clotheslined him and tagged you guys in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, no, Brian is the nicest guy you could meet. And he just gets, for some reason, people just, when because he's a steward of the truth, when he presses, people take it the wrong way, but no, it's very interesting exchange, and me and Chase were just laughing at that. Yeah. So what were we talking about before? My Skype calls and all that other crazy stuff.
Like having games built to 4K 60 right out the gate and stuff like that. Yeah.
Look, guys, I'm playing Rage, to Brian's point, and again, Rage isn't, unless you have it on PC, it's not the most beautiful looking game. But it still looks great, especially on the 4K browser now. It looks fantastic, and you guys see my streams. You know what I'm saying? So,
it was smooth too.
Yeah, dude.
It's like wow, that's
like you can't beat that with a stick. So, yeah, we like Chase alludes, we can't get caught in this loop about every single pixel. Let that talk be for the Devi device people, because they got to stick to that crap. That being said, Google is the leader, a fish rots from the head. So Google has to also pivot from this power talk, and hopefully, and listening to us in totality throughout the community, they'll do that. So, and
I'm assuming this, but I'd imagine the percent of gamers that really, really care about the individual pixels like that is possibly less than 1%. Like they just have to be a very loud part of the community. Absolutely. And yeah, they have a right to be mad if they were expecting it. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like Google is more concerned about the majority of people that are going to be playing these games. And if the majority doesn't care, then, I mean, they probably won't either. I mean, it's not necessarily a good thing to ignore a certain section of your audience, but at the same time, they're going to go where the money's at. So
if Digital Foundry, and this is the paradox that we run into, because we let Digital Foundry kind of curtail what we figure is important, and because we focus so much on polygon and compute units, I think we lost a lot in this generation in the realm of innovation. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say in English is is that let's just say if Digital Foundry, Brian, came out and said, you know what, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
Doom on Stadia is true 4K, and it's only 1800p everywhere else. And Doom releases, and let's just say if it wasn't, let's just say if it was 1800p, nobody would be the wiser, but you would have people running through the streets, Digital Foundry said so, and no one would be the wiser. You know what I mean? So it's all psychological. You guys got to understand that people have agendas. Even Digital Foundry, they got a Patreon. I'm not trying to be mean, but they have their reasons for doing what they do. So don't get caught up in that. Just enjoy your games. What are your thoughts?
That's the bottom line. Like if I play Doom and it looks bad, like you can tell if a game looks really bad, but if I enjoy what I'm playing, that's all that really matters to me, because that's why I'm buying a game. I'm not buying a game to be enamored how it looks. I'm enamored with how it plays and the story behind it and the community aspect. Like if it's a multiplayer game, which Doom offers, like I want to have a good time playing it. And that's all that matters to me. Am I having a good time? That's it.
And Seven, I get your frustration, and it's because you came late. It's not that we're trying to be dismissive, but we kind of we did go over this in full detail, and I do. And in my opinion, Google is plausible because they didn't get in front of the messaging. But at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is that there's some reason why this isn't coming out, and it may be legit. I feel it's legitimate on Google's part. It might be because they were blindsided because of a parody deal that Ed had to exercise via Xbox if they have the marketing rights. It might be because they're still worried about the bandwidth. Whatever the case may be, power is not it right now. And we got to be honest, the vast majority of people that stuck with this platform wasn't because of true or 4K. You know what I mean? It was great argument chips. And again, I'm out here in the muck all the time fighting the console war. It was great argument chips, but we got, at some point in time, we got to let it go. And the main question is Doom still going to look great? We know that it ain't got to be more powerful visually, but we know that on a lot of check boxes, Stadia is better than console. Portability, affordability, performance, period.
Exactly.
All right, I think that's it. Great show. I had you over. I know you got to get some sleep. I'm sorry, man.
I ain't going to sleep for a while. We're good.
But Brian, we will, like I tell everybody else, we're going to do this again. I'm running through the gambit of the community because I want this to be a community podcast where we tap everyone's brains and gets their thoughts on stuff. But thank you so much, man. Before we go, can you plug your content, plug your show, everything you do, all one last time?
Sure, appreciate it. So I do Club Stadia. If you want to direct link, it's youtube.com/Club Stadia. Over there, I do typical news analysis, reviews. I predict so many things and they're always wrong, but I have a fun time doing it. The latest thing I'm predicting is the Madden situation, if we're going to get Madden over on Stadia. And we do reviews on games every time, not every game that comes out, but every now and then we'll do reviews on games. And we kind of base it in, should you keep it or refund it? Because Stadia has a very neat feature that other consoles don't, that you can go right to the app, and if you don't like the game, you can refund it and get your money back. So I kind of do a little series with that. And then we've been doing a lot of live streams lately. Just with my rotating schedule, it can be kind of difficult doing regular recorded content. So we'll play games. We do a lot of open mics. Primarily, I just like talking to the community in general. And then if you want to find me on Twitter, it's at Club Stadia TV. Awesome.
Well, thank you, Brian, for joining us today. It was a fantastic talk. I was stoked for a reason. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Tim Sweeney, Dog the Bounty Hunter, didn't show up. So you get to podcast for another day, man.
No, I appreciate it. I was looking forward to this all week. I mean, you bring a lot of thought-provoking elements to just me in general. Like I'm like, yes, that's a good point. That's a interesting question. It allows me to like see things in a different way, and you definitely are very outspoken and very good at what you do. And I look forward to every single video you produce, because you come at it in such a way that I can't do, because and when I can't do something, I want to watch something that can, and you do it perfectly, my man.
Those were such kind words, but my channel is a flea on a horse's ass in compared to yours. So
to be fair, my account's like old as hell.
Yeah.
So it predates a lot.
But what you do, Brian, that is so fantastic, and I really enjoyed it, and I really also was in heavy anticipation of this sit down. And I'm not lying. Behind the scenes, I'm like, I'm getting the most dangerous man on it. And everyone's like, who? And I'm like, Brian, check him out, Club Stadia. Is because of the things that you do, the reviews, the breaking down, the, hey, here's my thoughts. What are you guys' thoughts? Let me not just sit here and tell you how you should think. I love that about the channel, and hopefully everybody will sign up after the fact if they haven't already. I
appreciate that. I mean, I was absolutely looking forward to this, and I like all these talks that you do, that Chase does, that Eddie does, that not Sonny, Sounds of Stadia, and the new podcast with Wingy. I'm so glad he started that, because he got some really good cats to be on a show with him. And I was watching it, and it's like 2.5 hours later, I'm like, holy hell, this thing's still going on.
Yeah.
I just love this community, and
it's all gut busting, and poor Raph, they just give him a hard time when he
went
on there and said, I have all the games on Stadia. I was listening, going to the grocery store, and I almost crashed my car.
Yeah. That's a good Wingy do. We don't deserve Wingy. He's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. We don't. Fantastic, and there's so much great content out there. This is a great, robust community, and I wish more people would listen to us instead of the Stadia haters. Even if you like cloud gaming or not, be knowledgeable of what you're arguing against at the least. So,
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I don't want to come at something if I don't have all the facts, and I don't want to look
Absolutely.
stupid. So if
Yeah.
I know I'm going to lose that argument, I kind of say, yep, you're right. Okay. That's it.
well, that's it, everybody. Thank you so much, Brian, again. And if you did like this show, hopefully you did. Like, sub, share, and let everyone know that, what the community is all about. Share all the shows, mine, Chase's, Brian's, Eddie's, Duncan's weekly circulates, everything, Stadia source. Let everyone know, because we got to get the truth out here. All right.
I agree.
And with that said, that is it. You all have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.
Stay sick cause I follow my gut. They say I was pushing my luck. I'm pushing